I think we're going. Can you do me a favor, Jeff? Can you look on YouTube, go to YouTube ACAD and see if that's the right angle? Do you see anything? I might have to back out and just go to Zoom. Yeah, I see it. I see it. Yeah, it's there. It's there. No, that's it.
I figured citizens could be heard. Yes, sir. My turn to be on the hot spot. Wouldn't miss it. Yes, sir. Where are you sitting, Jack? This guy. I know where you're sitting. I'm right behind you, so watch it.
Hey, how we doing?
I'm sorry, but I said you want to get my scooter.
Only if I'm leaving.
Is this a? Yes. I think it's figured out. Yeah. Just for you're not passing around another thing. Okay. Yeah, I was really awesome. Nancy, have you given a section? Have you given people signed up for the speak?
Yeah, we heard it.
Oh. Still.
This is to be heard. So that's what I have to heard. That's fine. Yeah.
You are. Well, look at you. Oh, it's great. All right, it's 6 o'clock. I'm gonna call this meeting to order. Nancy is finishing up. Before we read, see who's here. Excuse me, Mr. Harris. I'm gonna call this, we have a quorum. I'm gonna call this meeting to order. I'd ask everybody to please rise for a prayer. Mr. Harris, could you lead us in a prayer too, please, sir?
Jesus, honor you and respect you. We ask for thanks for how we walk our everyday life and the reading that we have and the honesty we said. And public to be heard. In the name of the Father, Son, and Holy Spirit.
Amen. Thanks, sir. Nancy, you have yes, you got a few. Number one agenda item, I make a motion to bring up acceptance of resignation of J.P. Mosier. Do I have a second? Do I have a vote? Chairman says yes.
So JP was an appointee from the county.
The county. He is
now resigned.
He is now resigned. Thank you. So I vote to accept the resignation.
Colleen second. Any discussion?
Any discussion?
Aye.
Aye, 4-0, the ayes have it. I have one for Mr. Godfrey. Okay. First citizen, I had somebody email me in, and I apologize for this. I didn't have a setup, but I will go ahead and read this. So again, this is the first citizen to be heard. I was asked to read it. Oh, citizens be heard. At this time, comments will be taken from the audience on any subject matter that is not on the agenda and on any issue under the jurisdiction of the board. Each member of the board who appears before the Aransas County Appraisal District Board of Directors shall be limited to a reasonable amount of time decided upon by the board chair. Please note, in accordance with the Open Meetings Act, directors may not discuss or take action on the agenda. The code requires us to have a section in there that has public comment on appraisal district or appraisal review board policies and procedures, part of the code. I've added that. If you would, that is actually, if you would like to speak, when I call your name, if you'd like to speak on the first one or on the second one, I'm going to read the first citizens to be heard, and it's from Patrick Kane. I'm going to read the entire thing. He wants that saved for free. Okay. Anybody on item 16? Agenda 16, item 16. Everybody's waiting for item 16. Mr. Godfrey, are you would like to speak in citizens to be heard, or would you like to speak on number 3?
Citizens to be heard.
Yes, sir. So the way we're going to do it is, I'd like you to keep it to 3 minutes. 5 minutes is going to be like the time limit. If you need to go over a little, I'm not going to stop you from speaking. I'm going to let you wrap things up. Try to run it. Presley can all speak well ourselves. Okay. So yes, sir. Whenever you're ready, Mr. Godfrey.
This is mainly my synopsis of an appraisal review board hearing I had last year at 722 East Murray Street in Rockport. 722 East Murray is a block constructed duplex in South Rockport, built in 1979, but the appraisal district has it built in 1999. Appraisal district has 100 feet on Church Street, when only 50 feet are on Church Street, valued at $80,000. All comparables presented would justify $40,000. Appraisal district has it in a class, same class as Whistler's Cove, built around 2008, and Murray, of course, was built in 1979. The appraisal district is using newer single-family homes when duplex and triplex sales are available. I asked for a hearing in May 2023 and was given a hearing in October. Not satisfied, I applied for arbitration in November 2023 through the state, which cost $500, and I'm still waiting. I received this year's tax statement using contested tax values from last year. I've been licensed in real estate since 1989 and a broker for about 25 years. I'm not an attorney, and I'm wondering at this point if I need to get advice from an attorney to find out where I go from here, because I'm getting that satisfaction from the appraisal district itself as to what my next step would be. Thank you.
Yes, sir. All right, so we're going to get back to you with an answer to that. I can discuss it now. Now, moving on to agenda item 3, public comment on appraisal district and appraisal review policies and procedures. Let me read this here, starting out. Patrick Kane, 105 South 3rd Street, Fulton. Despite feeling there will be a reprisal in the coming years, I am speaking up because I am tired of games that get played by the appraisal district. Why do I have to protest every year for what has already been decided by the chief appraiser in the ARB? My RV lot in Fulton is next door to a motel, and during last year's ARB hearing, the chief appraiser agreed to a 5% economic obsolescent discount. This year's valuation removed the discount, and when I called to get an explanation of why, I was told I had to challenge the validation every year. Why can't this discount be coded into the system and automatically applied with private nuance, while the private nuance exists? Second, the appraisal district increased my improvement class from a trailer pad 3 to a trailer pad 7. This increased the valuation of the trailer pad from $2,324 to $14,990, a 545% increase, despite there being no change to the property. When I called for an explanation, I was told the appraisal district was moving all trailer pads to TP7, the highest level. This is a direct conflict with the page 43 of the appraisal district's own manual, which recognized 7 quality levels. My prior trailer pad 3 designation represented adequate utility hookup, small average slab. The trailer pad 7 designation represents fine utility hookup, average large glass facility. My RV lot has simple water, electric, and sewage hookups on a grass RV pad. Clearly, this is nowhere near its trailer pad 7 designation. Why is everybody being moved to trailer pad 7 to artificially raise valuations? To simplify the appraiser's job, whatever the reason, it is wrong and the district needs to follow its own manual. I will be able to get I was able to get a large increase in valuation decrease by talking to an appraiser. However, I wouldn't have had to engage in the process if the district honored last year's decision and didn't play games with trailer pad classification. What we will do on this one is we will come back with him at the next meeting with an explanation on the trailer pad and how they've been moved up to from trailer pad 3, how trailer pads work. Okay.
I'm gonna stop right there for a second, because on the agenda, it says public comment on appraisal district and appraisal review board policies and procedures. Details of what they may be going to for the ARB or fighting with, that has nothing to do with our duties. And that's where we have to, yes, we are here for citizens to be heard, but our board duties and policies are not the details of this.
Exactly.
And either is, number 3 on the comment says, public comment on appraisal district and appraisal review board policies and procedures. So what I would encourage as meeting the chair would be, if you are speaking on the policy or on the procedures, then yes, please guide towards that. But the details of what you're fighting with the ARB or the appraisal district, that has nothing to do with us. Now, I get where some of the examples may have procedure issues, that we can pull out and discuss. But to me, this is a violation right now.
I don't.
Sorry.
Stay
It
law.
is, we need to stay with what our job is and what.
So is the appraisal district changing, moving all trailer pads from all up to a 7? Is that a policy or is that an individual?
That is something that is discussed with Mr. Soto in saying, we would like to see the evaluation packet or your categories or whatever that is. But yes, that falls under policies, but what these citizens are writing and reading don't match with our.
But however, I cannot tell Mr. Godfrey to not speak from what he says here in his time.
You guys, you're talking about value things, and you're very.
Excuse me,
No, you're way off base.
no, sir, you can stand up, fine. Can you just identify yourself, please?
Yeah,
I'm not gonna stop you from talking.
Okay. I'm sorry, who's sitting next to you? Michaela, you're absolutely correct. The board of directors does not have the authority to address anything associated with property values and valuations. They don't have that authority, and not only do they not have the authority, they're restricted from doing that. So,
Like I said, if we want to stick to the policy and that there needs to be a policy or a procedure in place, and that's encouraged from the citizens, that's fine. But what the details are, that is not our business. That belongs to him And that belongs, because if it ever gets back to us,
And I'm an elected official, I'm sorry, but I can't be associated
yeah.
with that, and
It's-
or want to be, because
Can
I'm
you
crossing a
explain to me-
line I can't go over.
Can you explain what Mr. Godfrey has something that's called citizen speaker? He has amount of time where he can get up and he can speak and he can say something. I didn't say that we would, I didn't discuss Mr. Godfrey's thing. Mr. Kane wrote in with a very simple question, and a simple question was about policy. Now, a policy is when the appraisal district decides to move all, if he's correct, and I don't know, that's why I said we would talk about it, and if you read the code says that if there's a conflict or a complaint, that he can come back and do it. So we're talking about a policy here. I'm not addressing about what his value should be, or I'm not addressing anything that, we're addressing simply a policy. Mr. Wright, would you like to identify yourself, please?
I'm Jack Wright, if you don't know me, I'm sorry. Mr. Godfrey did address evaluation, and you said we'll get back to you in the next meeting with an answer. And by that nature, your response is not appropriate. That's the reason.
Okay. We will not get back to you with an answer on evaluation, Mr. Godfrey. That's not what I meant. Okay?
Well, Mr. Hudd, also says here, directors may not discuss or take action on any item that is not on the agenda. You're discussing something that's not on the agenda. My point was, what is my procedure, which I can discuss, since
Yes,
I have asked for arbitration and have not gotten it. And now I'm getting a new tax bill with a new value, which is what I'm questioning. What is my procedure?
and that is fine,
We should have moved you to 3, though, I'm sorry.
yes.
The other part was just to give you a background of why I'm questioning the procedure.
Right.
So we
And I respect that and I understand that. What I am trying to get us to understand, everybody in here, is you have to stick to what's on the agenda. And the agenda states public comment on appraisal district and appraisal review board policies and procedures. If you go through the primary duties of an appraisal board, then all we have to do is listen to what your concern is for the procedures and the policy. We write that down and then we'll have a one-on-one.
Exactly,
And
that's exactly what
Either
I'm saying.
Mr. Soto or Ms. Shaw, somebody will get back to you on whatever it is. But
Exactly.
bringing the attention to us, yes, thank
That's
you.
all I've
But I
been
wanna-
doing, was bringing the attention
job.
to you.
Good job, thank you. Mhm.
May I further say something, Mr. Godfrey? If you haven't heard an answer by now, you need to be on cover of find out what happened with the direct documentation. Thank you. I'll wait for that.
Let's say in the morning.
All right. All right, moving on to the consent,
Are we done with number 3?
Oh, sorry. Public
Anybody
comment?
else?
does anybody else like that public comment on a policy or anything like that?
I heard, if you look at mine, I said, yes, I'd like to comment under citizens to be heard, but also reserve the right to address number 16, I believe.
Yes, sir, you can speak, I'm not gonna stop anybody from speaking, sir.
Just,
So
right now, all I want to say is, I find it interesting that the venue of this meeting was moved from where it's been for years and years and years to this different location. The only reason that I can surmise while I'm standing here is there's no internet, there's no live streaming, there's nothing to show you had a meeting other than you say your audio recording. Just a statement, you can sign it.
Yes, sir. Okay. Moving right along, anybody else? Okay, moving
I
on.
signed in for comment.
Oh, yes, sir.
If I could.
Go ahead, you can speak to that.
Okay, thank you. I'll make this real short. My name's Scott Wagger. This is my 4th year to serve on the Aransas County Appraisal Review Board, and the last 3 years as the chairman of the board. I'd like to make a comment related to item 16 on the agenda. I'm extremely interested in understanding what, if any issues might exist related to the current chief appraiser continuing his responsibility to ask the chief appraiser. The chief appraiser is the public face of the appraisal district, and whether you like it or not. And as a public face of the district, the appraisal process and the appraisal review process. In all my time on the ARB, I can say that the chief appraiser has represented the appraisal district, the staff, the appraisal process, and the appraisal review process with integrity and an unfailing commitment to follow the law. Treating property owners with respect and dignity. Is he perfect? No. Of course not. And neither am I. Okay? We all have problems when we're dealing with the public that come up sometimes. This is a difficult job, and there are always situations where property owners don't get the answers they desire. And he and I have occasionally tussled over decisions that I and the rest of my board members have made on protest decisions, but we've always respected our decisions. So again, I'm extremely interested in just understanding what the factors are that are contributing to any consideration for a change to his continued service. Thanks, that's all I have.
Yes, sir. All right. Ms. Matlock, I have you down for, you have to speak, I have you down.
I'm gonna wait for a minute, see how things go.
Okay.
There's a gentleman in the back that would like to speak.
Yes, sir. You'd like to speak?
I was on your list, so I was on your list, I thought.
Yeah, I think it's the one right next to you, sorry, I didn't know. Did you have a hand up?
Mr. Yes, sir, who I'd like to stand up first, and if you want, yes, sir, please just state your name for the.
I'm Mark Champion, have property in Aransas County. I appealed in 22. Let me back up. I have property in Texas before Aransas County. I have business in different counties. I have negotiated with appraisal districts other than here. They're still, you can hear our conversation. You can solve most problems on the damn phone. I have not solved a single problem in 3 years. I went to arbitration in 22 before I met with. You have a meeting, I'm not real fluent with it. You have a meeting with the appraiser prior to the hearing. He told me, I'm very sensitive for it. But he told me, well, you can move out of your trailer and move into your building and rent it out and pay the tax. Now, where is that part of the rules? That's not even the civility. When I went to our, you don't understand, we can't talk, we can't answer any question you have because we're protecting things. One of them came up earlier, which is not part of the discussion, was trailer pad. I live real poor, my trailer pad is rated higher than sand. I'm sitting on sand top. Why don't the state rules apply? Why don't the rules by the navigation district or by the appraisal board here apply that there is a rating for each pad? Everything is not the same bag. In the arbitration, I had a different guy in the hearing, and the comment was, "But your property is income producing. It's income producing. What does that have to do with it?" Well, if you look, I have my company registered with the county, pays taxes to the county. Not my property, I don't know what it is. Another business, really. Pay the taxes and go on. I got no answers in the hearing in 22. In 23, they got me again. They raised my land 150%. And another 50% on top of that. They did things to it that They said, we have to combine it to get homestead. I mean, about it in 08, they said, we did a replat, and they said, well, it's connected, so you'll be homestead, no problem. Until, I didn't get homestead until 23. But in 23, I came back with a representative. We didn't have our hearing until February of this year, 24. What are you calling it? It was one bad, it was good. But now, they took it all back. They raised the price on everything. My house trailer is 11 years old.
So
And it
I mean, 30
appreciated.
more seconds.
Well, that's not part of it.
Yes, sir. 30 more seconds.
But you don't get it yet. When it got me the most, if I could move out of my house and move into my shop building, it doesn't even have water. Now, that kind of attitude, I'm a lot older. Now than that, compared to what I used to. But now they have reneged on the whole thing.
Yes, sir.
And that's having homestead over 55.
I'm gonna have.
State says you can't change it to you. But they did. We're going back.
Thank you, sir, for your time. Appreciate it, sir. Catch you up. Anybody, moving, last consideration of action on fresh. Anybody else would like to speak on, on agenda item 3 before we move on? There's a hand in the back.
Is this still citizens be heard?
It's public comment on appraisal district and appraisal review board policy. Yes, sir.
I'll make it quick. So I just want to remind everybody that appraisal district works for us. And I know y'all know that, but it's to serve the public, and the public pays for it. And it's still here to talk about following the law, so I want to bring this narrative we had last week. My son has never come to this tax one of my health. May 15th, I felt the 18 days later, he had a cure. But what happened was, I went to the hospital for some mini strokes, got out of the hospital on June 3rd, I was still getting sonograms. His hearing was on June 3rd. June 5th, I just called. It's only been 17 days since I filed a protest and said, hey, all of my son's protest, I hadn't heard back yet. But I was real nice and said, hey, it was 2 days ago. Why? It was real nice to help my son go through his email. It was in a spam folder. It was answers .eml. You ought to get these from them too. You can't bust that open with kind of a phone. You have to go to the computer. So purchase it in a spam folder and say it's .eml. But they got a state law as a paper. The state law, you just go to the state law and you just rule it as Friday. If the state law says that if you miss a hearing, you have 4 days to ask for reschedule. And one shall be granted if there's good cause. Good cause is defined as missing a hearing, reasonable, an error, or a mistake. And it goes on to say what's not a good cause is if you have suspicion they knew about the meeting and just failed to show. So in my son's case, it was in a spam folder. It's good cause. And he did it for 2 days, he had 4 days after the hearing. He was just denied by the board on Friday and said it was not a good cause. So what John just done to my son, first time home buyer, first time appraisal, if you denied his due process to come into this hearing on a property tax. And that's not a good look for this board. Now, I will do a 25B road, which my company figured out, which says if your property is over 20% appraised, you don't have to call, you can protest any time of the year. So we got a route to get into it, but I'm really curious why the board, the review board, denied his request for a rehearing, but he sent his email to the spam folder. He did it in 2 days, and 4 days to request a hearing. The law says good cause is a mistake. Honest mistake, not intentional. And you know, denied his rehearing.
Thanks, sir. All right. Anybody else? Oh, yes, sir. Please, if you could please state your name. Yeah. Sorry about that. You could have said it's done from sitting down if you would like, sir.
Yes, I have a comment on agenda items 11, 15, and 16.
1 second, sir. Yes, sir. If I may,
Item 11,
would you like, you can either do it now, or you could wait till before the agenda item, it's completely up to you, sir.
Okay, I'll wait till the agenda.
Yes, sir, appreciate that. All right, moving on. We have no one else who wants to speak on a procedure. Agenda item 4, consider an action on correction of board chair appointment on the minutes of January 23, 2004. Do I have a second to bring that up on the?
I have a motion to consider and take action on the board chairman appointment for the minutes of January 23rd, 2024.
Well, since you didn't declare what the issue was that you corrected, would you at least say that you were nominated as board chair?
Yes, sir.
And that's the mistake.
Well, that's what we're gonna, I thought that's what we would declare, we'll talk about now. So do we have a second? Okay, so just for clarification, what happened was on the first meeting we had, on this date, we had appointed me the chair and we had voted on it and it didn't get into the last minutes. And we need to go back and correct it. Simple. So is there any discussion we want to have on this or anything? We're basically just correcting it. Right. Yes, ma'am.
Have they been corrected? Since we just got, how many times have they been corrected? Have they been corrected?
Nancy, have they been corrected?
Yes.
Okay.
Would you like to read it?
Yes, sir, if you could, thank you.
So that's item, number 4.
4, yes,
Item for
ma'am.
discussion.
Yes, ma'am.
Consideration and possible action on the election of board members. Motion made by Colleen Quattlebaum to appoint Jeff Hutt as chairman for the board of directors. Motion was made by. Sorry, I was going to continue.
But that's not a correction.
Well, the correct, so the incorrect part was that the minutes stated that,
Didn't say anything at all.
It is stated.
oh, I thought.
I left it out completely. Here's, let me read to you what the minutes said beforehand and we will make the correction. Item 4 for discussion, consideration, this is the minutes. Consideration of possible action on election of board members, motion made by Jeff Hutt to appoint Colleen Quattlebaum as board of directors secretary, motion revoked by Jeff Hutt. And then it says, motion by Jeff Hutt, second by Colleen Quattlebaum to appoint Anna Marshall as secretary for the board of directors, motion passed. Jeff Hutt opened the floor to appoint vice chairman, recommending Michaela Austin, because she was America, that's mine. Motion made by Colleen Quattlebaum, second by JP Moser to appoint Michaela Austin as chairwoman for the board of directors, motion passed. We need to correct that to say that motion was made by Colleen Quattlebaum and it was seconded by whom? Do we recall?
To the best of my recollection, I believe it was JP Moser. Does that sound right to you?
Yeah. Go back.
Mr. Lambert, does that sound right to you? The second was from Moser. And I do want to affirm that it was just left out of the first minute. And all we need to do is say that Quattlebaum elected made a motion for Jeff to be the chairman. I believe, to the best of my recollection, it was JP Moser seconded, and the motion passed. It was just left out of the minutes. It's a simple correction. Not to, I'll just do that. See,
I'm Mr. Wright. Mr. Wright.
It would be nice.
Mr. Wright. Sure. If you could please raise your hand and ask the vice stage. Yes, sir.
It would be nice if the minutes recorded the motion, who was the second, and the record vote. It often comes down to, I didn't say that, in the recording of that would be very helpful in a type situation.
So. They have to. They have to. Do we accept, so we need a motion to accept?
Motion to accept the minutes of the meeting from January 23rd, 2024. Recommended to the meeting as read by Shankland District.
Okay, I'll second. All in favor?
I can't vote on it.
All in favor? Okay, all opposed? So 3 yes, 1 abstain. Okay, moving on, to the consent agenda item. All consent agenda items listed are considered to be routine by the district and will be enacted by one motion, and no separate discussion on each item will occur unless a member of the board chair so request, in which case the item will be moved in the consent agenda and considered in its normal sequence. Do I have a motion on the floor? Can I have a motion to approve the
I
consent
make a
agenda?
motion to approve the consent agenda as listed. And considered to be routine by the district board and will be enacted by one motion, and no separate discussion. These items will occur unless a member of the board each item will be removed from the sequence on the agenda. Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed?
Mr. Mayor,
Yes, sir.
apologies, but I don't see a consent agenda to convey items to the district board.
Is it on public? On the.
I don't see a consent agenda page or that has anything in it.
The district normally doesn't do it the way the school district does.
Well, you're approving the consent agenda.
That was from last meeting, which we got, but the public doesn't see it. There's a,
Okay. Nobody doesn't see the consent agenda.
if you go back to last month, yes.
We need a course in.
How to list the agenda? Yes, yes.
All right, so moving on to the regular agenda. I'm gonna strike number 6 from the possible administration of public oath. Number 5, sorry. Number 5. Sorry,
I'm confused.
I'm confused too. Hold on, I'm sorry. We've already approved the consent agenda. We're moving on from consent agenda to the regular agenda.
Okay, but as a consent agenda contains item 5, you have approved item 5, you may go forward. Sorry.
Very good.
All right. So I'm going to strike number 6 from the agenda because the new appointee is not in town at this time. And I'm going to move agenda item 13 up into its place. I want to give Mr. Smith the opportunity to put some Corpus to go ahead and present and get out of here. So I have a motion to hear 13, now number 6.
Make a motion to strike agenda item 6 and move agenda item 13 in place. Here from the Aransas County district auditor, Jeff Smith.
I second it. All in favor? Opposed? Ayes have it. Jeff, come on, sir. Thank you.
Thank you.
We'll try to keep this brief. I understand you guys have a lot to go over. Those who don't know me, my name is Jeff Smith. I'm an audit partner of Gallup, Ross & Smith that performs your audit this year. So I'm going to briefly go over the audit, the highlights of it. And if there's any questions from the board at that time, I'll be happy to facilitate them. And we'll go from there. I believe that you all have an audit packet for board members. We'll go over to the audit report. Highlights. So we've audited the accompanying financial statements of governmental activities of the Aransas County Appraisal District as of and for the year ended December 31, 2023. In our opinion, the financial statements referred to above present fairly in all material respects the respective financial position of governmental activities of the Aransas County Appraisal District as of that time. We conducted our audit in accordance with auditing standards for the 17 United States of America and the standards applicable to financial audits containing governmental accounting standards, auditing standards issued by the Comptroller General of the United States. So, brief description of responsibilities of the management. Management is responsible for the preparation and fair presentation of the financial statements in accordance with the accounting principles generally accepted in the United States. Briefly, the auditor's responsibilities or objectives are to obtain reasonable assurance about whether the financial statements as a whole are free from material misstatement, whether due to fraud or error, and to issue an audit report that includes our opinion. In performing an audit in accordance with generally accepted auditing standards and governmental auditing standards, we exercise professional judgment and maintain professional skepticism, identify and assess the risk of material misstatement of financial statements, obtain an understanding of internal control, evaluate the appropriateness of accounting policies, and conclude whether in our judgment there are conditions or events considered in the aggregate that raise substantial doubt about the Aransas County Appraisal District's ability to continue as a going concern for a reasonable period of time. So that was the opinion of the audit. We're going to go to page 3. This is management's discussion and analysis. I'm going to go over all of it. This mostly is the opportunity for management to give you highlights of what they felt for the year and to give some information. I'll briefly discuss those highlights. The assets of the district exceed its liabilities for the 23 fiscal year by $1,099,771. Fund balance of the district for close of 23 total $292,000. The district fund balance decreased from prior year by $21,669. And the district has compensated absences of $50,772 as of December 31, 23. Going to page 5, bottom, governmental activity. And just wanted to highlight for you guys the general fund balance did decrease by the $21,670. And let's put over to page 6. I'll try to go over some of that. Some of the highlights of the change in net assets I want to kind of point out for you. Comparatively, you see the comparative table there between 23 and 22. Just to give you a brief summary of charges for services. So in 22, the charges for services were $1,145,000. Charges for services in 23 were $1,254,000. So you look at the expenses there, and we're going to briefly talk about this because those numbers look skewed. Other personnel services, you see in 2022 that the personnel services expense was $534,000. You'll see in 23 that number is $762,000. I'll be clear to everyone, that is not salaries, that is not just wage increases. It has a lot to do with your pension and how it's calculated every year. It's called an OPEB liability and has deferred inflows and outflows. Those are very hard to explain, but more or less, if you stopped at a point in time, in terms of your liabilities, they would have to be factored at one point. We're doing everything in December 31, 23. Your OPEB is actually calculated a prior year earlier. These are based on market conditions, raises, losses, appreciation, depreciation, things that happen in the market, interest earned. A future forecast over a 20-year period, the amount of your liabilities on your pension liabilities. So you can see the numbers are going to go up and down and they're skewed, but that is not something that's in control of the district. Salaries and such, which we will highlight briefly, are in control of the district with these numbers that are included in there or not. So let's go forward on page 7 real quick. I kind of want to hit the 3 fund balances real quick just so you have an idea of what each one is included. You have a non-spendable fund balance. That fund balance currently is $13,109, and that's made up of prepaid expenses. You have restricted fund balances, and then you have what we call committed fund balance. Committed fund balances are amounts, they differ from restricted balances in that constraints of their use do not come from outside parties, okay? Constitutional provisions or enabling legislation. And then you see there a listing of your committed fund balance. Moving forward, page number 9. briefly want to go over the capital assets and the change of capital assets that you have. You'll see there in the beginning columns, the green balance at the beginning of the year. Total 981,000 in total. That is net of accumulated depreciation. You'll see net additions and deletions. We spent some time going through your asset listing to make sure that the items no longer were in existence had been cleaned up on the record, so there were some deletions that were done. Your ending balance at the end of the year, including that accumulated depreciation, is 927,000. I kind of want to go just real quick on that pension liability, what's kind of giving you some information on. You'll see that the beginning balance was a negative 164,000. The change in the year was 503,000 to positive. Ending balance of 338,000. Now again, that number is not directly reflected into the salary expense. So it's not necessarily a true cost. That is the liability that we convert. I'll go forward to page number 11. No, so it's a statement of net assets of December 31. I'm going to point to you the general fund, which is the first column. That's the column I'll be going over. Cash for the district at December 31 was 515,000. Total assets being 528,946. You see as we go down, small liabilities totaling $13,401. Unavailable revenue assessments of $223,000. Unavailable, so you know, unavailable revenue assessments or prepaid assessments that come in. And total fund balances of $299,000. Get your total liabilities and fund balance to $528,946, which ties back to your total assets. Moving forward, on to page number 12. The statement of government fund revenues and expenditures. Go over those with you real quick. The revenues of the taxing units. Individually, just the taxing units is $1.224 million. Getting you total revenues of $1.256 million. Again, going down. The personnel services number, $761,000. Supplies and operating expenses of $201. Professional services of $284. Gives you total expenditures of $1.278. And you have any deficiencies of revenue of $21,000, which is the amount that was the loss for the year. Giving you a fund balance acquisition for the year $200,000. Moving forward to page number 19, let's go over into the notes of the financial statement. And again, just on a couple items that I highlighted for you, I'll go over the notes now. One being the compensated absences. Page 19. So compensated absences are absences in sick time and vacation time that have been approved as of the end of the year. At the beginning of the year, you were $47,263. You did applications of $3509. Turning balance of those compensated absences $50,774. And looking forward to page 24. We talk a lot about risk assessment these days. People talk about how much money's in the bank, what your FDIC coverage is. So we just want to kind of briefly give you an insight to that real quick. That your carrying value, which is your ledger balance at the end of the year, was $515,000. Your bank balance was $536,000. You have FDIC insurance coverage of $250,000. But you also have securities pledged against that of $1.29 million. So your actual coverage amount in the bank is $1.54 million, which more than covers your balance of $515,000. Moving forward to the next page 25. Again, just briefly wanted to highlight to you the capital assets and where the depreciation comes from. You see there, and I just wanted to kind of briefly show you the deductions at $90,000. It's coming out of mostly office furniture and equipment. So you can see that there was no change in land and buildings for the year. There was a change in furniture and equipment. Depreciation for the year, the $26,000 depreciation on the building, and you had $25,000 in depreciation on office furniture and equipment. You will see that deduction there of $88,000 for depreciation, and that is simply the write-off of the depreciation for the items that were disposed of. So get you to a total net book value of $927,000.
The depreciation schedule Is that done by you guys or is that done by us?
Somebody else.
Done by the depreciation schedule? Could you please email, could we get a copy of the depreciation
For
schedule?
the full bridge, yes.
Yes,
We're going to go out for Yeah, it will be by item, we'll kind of show you by year of purchase. It'll be detailed for you with every asset.
And you'll use a metrics for that, correct?
It's an internal software.
Yes,
So we do to do that. Every, so we cannot, I cannot determine the life of an asset. That would be me doing your job. So you guys have to provide us the life of the asset. So we set up like a computer, we set up a desk, anything like that to set up. The appraisal district gives us the life, and then we just do depreciation based on that. We're not allowed to choose those amounts for you. Do it independently. Okay. So real quick, I want to go over funding policy real quick on page 26. The employer has elected the annual return contribution rate APCR plan provisions under TCDRS. TCDRS Act, the contribution of the employer is actuarially determined annually. District employee contribution rates are as follows. Just kind of wanted you to see those numbers as they carry back the last 3 years. You see the employee contribution rate has not changed, but that the employer rate will fluctuate up and down again based on market conditions. These are outside of the control of the Okay, on the next page 27, just a quick one to go, show that the employer's accounting year and December 31 annual pension cost, which is one piece of the annual pension cost, was $108,000. Coming down, I just want you to see that in Schedule D, net pension liability, where you do see the contributions of the employer at $108,000. So that number is where it's coming from. And on to page number 31. Budget and actual. So everybody likes to kind of look at this, kind of just to see where you're probably going to be and where you end up in. So you kind of can compare the first two columns there. If you look at the overall third column for variance, favorable, unfavorable, just going to see how you did comparatively. Looking at expenses, and the cool thing is that really the worst one was the professional services. You'll see that that number was considerably higher. That has to do with legal fees, the majority of it. Just a note is that after speaking with management, that number could continue, be considerably higher. And so just want that to be something that you're want to point that out specifically too. All right, so that's kind of where we're at. I'm going to go back to page number 36. You will see another audit report. This audit report schedule is talking about schedule extensions, talking about additional information that's provided. Schedule extensions is presented for purposes of additional analysis. Is not a required part of the financial statement. Such information is the responsibility of management and will derive from and relates directly to the underlying accounting and other records used to prepare the financial statement. The information has been subjected to the auditing procedures applied in the audit of the financial statements and certain additional procedures, including comparing and reconciling such information directly to the underlying accounting and other records used to prepare the financial statements or to the financial statements themselves. Other additional procedures in accordance with auditing standards generally said in the United States of America. In our opinion, the information is fairly stated in all material respects in relation to the financial statements as a whole. If you will, just so you know what that report was about, look on page 37. It will give you the detail of that schedule expense road. So as your audit, the board have any questions, I'll try to provide you some information.
Another question.
No, sir. No, sir. I was asked by the auditor that he was only going to take questions from the board.
Okay, that's fine. That's fine.
So I'm assuming that the salary increase from 2022 to 2023 when we did the shadow and the extra.
Yeah, would have been what our budget is probably. There was 20,000 associated with the shadow. No, we're talking 22, 23. You're thinking of 23.
3 to 24.
Yeah.
You're talking about the $50,000
Yes.
approximate increase. Most of that, a lot of that was due to, I believe you had an extra employee at some point in time for part of the year, and that there was salary increases that occurred.
Yeah, I think for 2 years, there's the 23 to 24 was the shadow. Like that's who we have right now, the half year.
Okay. So then who did we, for 22, 23, to get $50,000?
I don't know. No.
I just didn't know.
I can get you more
That's
detail.
fine. We can discuss it later. I don't want to hold anybody, but that's fine. Just out of curiosity.
Yeah, if you're looking at 492, divided by 548, it's 10%. 10% over 10 employees. So it's a percent per employee. It's probably.
It wasn't added.
Yeah, I don't believe so. The previous ad would have been Beth Picarazzi, and she was many years before that. So this is probably just like 1.5%. You have to break.
Well, we did it. I thought we did the 2% COLA or something.
I believe that's right. Without looking at the records, I wouldn't know. But just know that the delta is a combination of COLA and merit-based raises. It works out to about 1% per.
Okay, that's fine. So this needs approval.
You need to accept it.
Yes.
Okay. So I make a motion to approve the presentation by the district audit of Jeff Smith for 2023. Here.
Second. Your vote, all in favor?
For any discussion?
All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Nay, the ayes have it, 4-0. Okay.
Thank
Sir,
you.
appreciate it. Have a safe trip home, sir.
Thank you, Jeff.
So, deliberate and vote on instructing the chief appraiser to create a Facebook page as a means to keep the public up to date and informed. This is tabled from the last meeting. Do we have a motion to hear this?
I make a motion to hear it.
We have a motion to consider. Yes. Okay, discussion.
I can enter into the.
Yes,
discussion.
now you're good.
That's okay. First of all, I'd just like to say, let's do the Facebook page. My only 2 comments about it is there's 2 very important distinguishing factors you have to consider. One is that you have the comments off, and the second is you have the comments on. My only suggestion for that is that if you have the comments off, then it's strictly like an informational page.
Yes.
And what's important for you to understand from my perspective is, like I sit behind the scenes of the appraisal world, so it's hard for me to go back and put myself in the mind of the citizen and what they would possibly need for information. Because I know the dates and things are due, I know how things are done, but it's hard for me to go back and put myself in the place of the citizen. So what I would just ask the board to help me develop information that you want on there. If you say, hey, we want a Facebook page with comments off, I need your assistance. That's all I'm saying.
So just so that citizens who are here know, we have encouraged transparency without comment. Because obviously negativity doesn't do anybody any good and people love to be bullies behind the scenes. But in the same sense, we feel that the community, especially senior citizens or anytime the state changes something, it's only fair to educate the public on the procedures of what to anticipate. Since a lot of our citizens are on fixed incomes. So we have to discuss this for about a year now, and how can we help educate the public where we reduce legal fees, we reduce arbitrations, we reduce all of these things. And so we've kind of gone back and forth. Yes, there's hardly any appraisal districts that have a Facebook page, but it doesn't mean we can't do it, and we can't turn the comments off. Putting yourself into the side or on the side of the citizen and learning and taking yourself back, I think you learn that from comments.
Right.
And you meet with your arbitration board and you say, what posed the biggest issue? Or when customers come into the front office and they say, look, they're complaining about this. Ladies just have to write it down, or whoever's in the front, just write down what the concerns are. You see what the issues are, and then you come up with a transparency. And we talked about in the beginning too, was going back and saying, look, here's what the state's doing. They're holding you accountable. Here's where, and what you're having to do is close the gap between what the state is saying and what you're doing. Because for however many years, there was a 17% gap or 14% gap or whatever the numbers are. I know we know them. I don't know them. I don't need to know them. But I know there was a gap. So what I'm saying is what we're doing so that the citizens know is we're encouraging transparency. Again, Facebook page, an article in the paper, whatever it is, it's a communication.
I totally agree with that. The only 2 points is like, this board just needs to make a decision on which direction it wants to go. If you were to go with the latter where you have the comments on,
we already said last meeting, comments are
okay, I'm sorry.
yeah, we told you that we would turn the comments off. It's just a matter of educating the public.
Yeah, and to that thing, I agree with the board member that communication is good. I will tell you, it's difficult for me to like, what do I need to know as a citizen, because I already know all the names of the property tax law. So all I would say is like, I need more involvement into that discussion.
That's not our, but what I'm saying to you, and I'm putting it back to you, is listen to your customers and listen to what front office says. If your front office, we're not there.
Yeah.
We're not there. We don't need to be there. We don't know to hear from the public, but take yourself back to one-on-one. Say, let's start from the beginning.
I can do
The
that.
job of the appraisal district is X. We get our information from the state, express the procedures, just bullet point it.
Absolutely.
I think also to treat it like a newspaper in terms of notices. It's a place where we can put notice. We can notice that put a notice out that the president is about the, when your notices are due. Put a notice about when we're having a meeting. Broadcast the meeting over Facebook. So there's no question. This is how we can use Facebook and whether not as a method to communicate back and forth with with people. That's if somebody has a question, we want them to come directly to the district and communicate. But as a way to provide, just like I said, treat it like a newspaper.
Again, hey, appraisals are going out April 15th, whatever date it is, look for them. If you didn't, homesteads do X, I mean, it's just a bullet. Whatever it is, just come up with it, that's your.
Understood?
I think so.
Yes, ma'am.
I believe that part of the discussion on the Facebook page was to have, which we do have a fairly robust website. And we simply wanted people who don't normally maybe go to websites, who don't know what website they're going to, if they hit Facebook, we want to point them to that website. That's part of the Facebook with, immediately pointing them to where they can take documents that is already built, very robust, on the draw. I think was really one of the biggest issues was to point to the website, which is already developed.
Yeah, I agree.
So we're not having to, we're not putting an additional burden on the district, to monitor a Facebook page. Many of those questions can be answered by going to the website.
Understood.
Very good.
Mr. Lambert, do you have anything to say? All right, I make a motion that we approve instructing the appraiser to create a Facebook page as a means to keep the public up to date and informed. favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Moving on to item 8. Okay, consideration and take action on permanent appointment, tentative agriculture advisory board member appointments for April 10th, 2024 regular meeting. I do have a motion to consider the item.
Yes, I make the motion to consider, permanent appointment to the agricultural advisory board.
In a second. All right, it's on the table. If I could, Mike, I see that we've been provided with a single, we provided with some, language here.
Yes,
Yeah.
there's two previous board members that have shown a willingness to serve. I don't know if you got those emails. You got one? I have, Jim Schuman by name and David Nessaloni Jr. by name. They both expressed their willingness to serve in that capacity. They both meet the qualifications, that are here. You'll note from the last meeting, we had some other recommendations. All checked on those, and none of two from release, that just none of them qualified. So now you have two board members, and you have another agriculture board, a new application. So if you'd like to take action on that, this is something that I need to. This is something I need. I just need to have a meeting with them. It's part and parcel to the agricultural special valuation. So.
I would like to, maybe I'll discuss this later on, when we talk about future. Yes.
I have a question.
Sure.
On that one with, Les Miller, one of the, we discussed last time. How does he not qualify?
He's not the owner. He wasn't the owner as the current year. He was in the process of buying. I spoke to Les for a while.
But even though he owns it now, it would have to be as of January 1st.
Yeah. Well, at the time that he was purported to be a board member, which this board took action on, it was said that he was the owner of that property. Now, I don't know, is that new that he's the owner now? This board can take a new application from Les Miller and you can take a future action on it. He would be a great addition, in my opinion.
So we have two positions filled, is that correct?
The board typically holds 5, but if you have 3 and they all show up, then they can form. And right now, we have Jim Schuman, who is a previous member, and David Nessaloni already indicated they were willing to serve in that capacity. And then you have an application on 5.
So this application has Gregory, Texas.
No, it's, that's where he gets a lot of his ground. Charles Warren owns a lot of ag in this. He is an ag owner here in Aransas County. He owns the property directly north of Old Rock.
So they don't have to live here to serve on it? They just have to have an ag?
Yeah, that's correct. You just have to own ag property. He meets the qualifications, to the best of my knowledge.
So you're asking to approve this one?
It's up to the board, but yes, I would love to have a 3-member board at least.
Okay.
Do we know where the statute is? I saw the Ann and I brought her tax code. Do we know where the statute is? I just want to make sure it's the second time we did this.
Yeah, go ahead.
I'm looking it up on my phone. Here we go, let me read this to you. And I'm reading from the Agricultural Appraisal Advisory Board.
Let's go ahead and make a motion to approve it too. Yes. Okay, Jim Schuman and James. And if anybody has any problems.
I make a motion to approve David Maloney and Jim Sherman and Charles Rohr.
I would,
Agriculture board.
Read that for the record, please.
Section 6.12 Agricultural Appraisal Advisory Board. The chief appraiser of each appraisal district shall appoint with the advice and consent of the board of directors and agricultural advisory board composed of 3 or more members as determined by the board. The agricultural advisory board members must be landowners of the district whose land qualifies for appraisal under subchapter C, D, E, or A, chapter 23.
So he.
does it continue?
Well, it just continues about terms and stuff.
Okay, all right.
So that's your qualification.
Do we need to establish terms
Yeah,
for these?
wise.
What do you typically do?
just
What does it
continue.
say?
Members of the board serve for staggered terms of 2 years in making the initial appointments of members of the agricultural advisory board. The chief appraiser shall appoint for a term of 1 year, 1/2 of the members, or if the number of members is an odd number, 1 fewer than the majority of the members. The board shall meet at the call of the chief appraiser at least once a year. The employee or officer of an appraisal district may not be appointed and may not serve as a member of the agricultural board. A member of the agricultural advisory board is not entitled to compensation. The board shall advise the chief appraiser on valuation and use of land that may be designated for agricultural use or that may be open space agricultural or timberland within the district.
Okay, so the board.
I would like to amend my motion to appoint David Maloney and Jim Sherman to 2-year appointment. And we, Charles Rohr for 1 year appointment. And then the following year.
Second.
Call.
Discussion.
Discussion? You have a second, yes, ma'am. Okay, any discussion, Mr. Lambert? No? All right, let's call the vote. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye, all opposed? Nay. 4, 2.
Nothing down.
Yeah, thank you. Update from chief appraiser on complaint and tracking process. We have a motion that we bring it up on the agenda.
Well, we can just talk about it.
Right, it's been, about a 2 month period since we talked, what's happened before, not much in regard to this specific thing. What's the answer to that? We're in the middle of a notice process, we're right in the middle of appeals. I do want to reiterate or rehash the things. I think there's some major categories, the board has suggestions for anything outside of these major categories. I would like you to just consider, like, just telling me what those are so that we can catch all of the complaints and try to be proactive in meeting those needs. The very first one is questions about valuation. If it's a question about valuation, whether an exemption was denied, modified, or canceled, those type of concerns are directed through an appeal process. They're either protested, but if a person has a question or a complaint about how their process was handled, they can direct that to the ARB. I'd like to speak a little bit to Mr. Godfrey in regard to the.
If I could, I want the part of this that I'm most concerned about is that in the tax code, and I have it in your notes here. It's under section 604, and it's E. It says the board shall prepare and maintain a written plan that describes how a person who doesn't. Oh, that's not it. Geez, thank you. A written complaint is, if a written complaint is filed with the board, that the board has authority to resolve, the board at least quarterly until final disposition of the complaint shall notify the parties to the complaint of the status of the complaint unless notice would jeopardize an undercover investigation. This is what this is what my biggest concern is, that we need to have a written complaint process that we can address, that, you know, because here, shall notify the parties to the complaint of the status. This is what I'm thinking about.
Yes, so, to continue, there's three main categories, in my opinion. Again, I'm looking for some direction, guidance from the board, and I definitely want your influence in that regard. One is value, that's an easy, just directed to an ARB. And so when ARB letters get read, there's a couple of examples today of like, hey, my thing hasn't gone through, where's that at? I just want to direct this to answer your question. Once you go through a protest and it's heard by the appraisal review board, if you go beyond that level, there's what's called hearing, there's lawsuit, or there's called binding arbitration to the comptroller. Now, once you fill that form out and send that in, it's then in their system, and they have to initiate what's called a binding arbiter, and then they contact both parties. They contact the district and us. And just for clarity, I just want you to know, you can come in tomorrow, you can come in Monday, give me the thing, I'll try to help you track it down, for sure.
Can you clarify the word they, when you were saying they, so that everybody knows, when you say it goes to them or they?
Oh, I'm sorry, I said the comptroller, I didn't say the comptroller, but, I'm referring to the comptroller of Texas. So binding arbitration comes to us, we fill out a paper, we affirm that we received the binding arbitration. We then send it out to the comptroller. They receive it. They've got people that are binding arbiters, but it goes through a process. You're just putting it to the queue for all intents and purposes. Yes. And so.
Is there a 10-day response period, anything like that? So it can last however long.
There have been people that have waited 4 or 5 months, you know, before we get a response.
Sorry.
That
Sorry. We're only supposed to be talking about that we have the authority to resolve. This is not what we have to resolve, the authority to resolve. So I don't think we.
Well,
So you're just stay here.
there was an update from the chief of appraisal,
Yeah.
so I was going to continue if I may.
Okay.
Thank you. So we'll move on from value-related questions. The second questions are questions or concerns about staff members. I would ask that if you want to be a part of that, or you can, but that's directly related to the administration of the chief, and it should be handled by me. Some of those are remedied on the spot. Some of those are remedied by conversations with my staff members. I get the story, like what happened, what's going on. Some of it's value related, some of it's not value related. Those should be handled by the chief. The third set of categories are categories that are complaints about the district in general or the chief himself. And in that case, the board should have some communication with that member, that citizen that says, hey, on such and such a date, I started treating that thing. Or on such and such a date, I'm complaining about X, Y, Z. And you just have to use your best judgment on how to proceed with that. Obviously, you would then communicate with me, because at the very least, I want opportunity for reconciliation.
So I think the biggest takeaway on this, and it's something we've talked about for several years, or 2 years, is it said that agenda item says update from the chief appraiser on complaint contracting process. Then he put 604G, which is written complaint is filed with the board. We have talked for 2 years about creating an email address that if there is a complaint, it just goes straight to chair@appraisaldistrict.org or whatever it is. That complaint goes straight to the chair at that time, and then it goes to the board. We still don't have a writing process on this.
I believe in, like even on my website, Fallon, correct me if I'm wrong, the board chair is listed.
With the email address?
Well, I don't know, is it their email address or is it just his name and his?
The email address is what?
Is for chairman,
Is it called chair at, or is it my personal email?
if you would like it to be chair.
Well, I just think it's easier for as the chair changes, you just.
But I just want to be clear that on our website right now, I don't go there very much, but I me, I get it a different way, like it says submission, and it comes straight to my email, or it usually comes to me. But there is a complaint feature, you click a button and it has Chairman Hutt's information and then it has the section there, I believe.
Yes, it's a document.
Yeah.
There and with information on.
Again, something that can be easily put on Facebook on the process of how to do it, this is how it goes. But that would be a great thing. Here's the.
If I'm reading the statute, and it says, if a written complaint is filed with the board, that the board has the authority to resolve. What is, you know what that is referring
I guess
to?
we would both have to ask it.
That's fine.
Okay, they could have to follow up on. Awesome. Don't move like I'm making a note, they can make a note to follow up.
You okay?
That needs to come down.
Now, the next agenda item is, moving on to, item 10, update on 2024 notice of homestead exemption eligibility responses. This way.
And so in your packet, we have an example of what those look like. In our system, we have a mechanism by which we can take a property owner, we can look at their name, and we can look at their physical address, and we can look at their mailing address. If that meets a certain set of standards for a state code, meaning legal and residential, we automatically send them, hey, it's possible that you might qualify for residence exemption. What you have here is an example of such those documents. It's part of the notice process, so every year, late April, early May, we just blast those out. I want to say that this year, Val, was something, it was about, was it 5,400?
It's typically a pretty high number.
Yeah, it's about, it's north, it could be, it might have been 6,000-ish. I don't know the exact number, but it's a blast that says, hey, you may qualify. So what's the result of that? There's two piles of exemptions that people are saying, yeah, I qualify. And maybe they do, maybe they don't, but it just goes to, at that point, it goes into the normal process of a 90-day window in which the chief appraiser looks and reviews to make sure that they qualify, or do they qualify for the whole year? Is it a partial exemption? Do they get to say a homestead? Do they do DP? Are they over 65? I go through this section. It just goes through the normal process.
Another great Facebook. And these are all just things that say, hey, check your spam, go through whatever, this is what we're doing.
Right.
And again,
Mr. King?
is that the email address that he mentioned earlier, what was it, email? Did you mention?
No, that was a spam folder.
Okay, just so that if it does, make sure it doesn't come from that.
So, what was our response rate by folks who actually filed for homestead exemption?
We don't have that calculated. I didn't know bring that with me. But I could say, I mean, it was something silly, but it's a pile about this size.
So
Based on the supplements I get, it's not.
Yeah.
So now Fulton, I don't know if they're in Fulton notes here. In Fulton doesn't have, they don't have mailing addresses, they have P.O. box. And there's a lot of people in the county who can't, I live on Prairie Road, I can't get the mail down the road. Is there some way that, do we take into consideration for those folks and somehow?
It's a mailing address, that is the mechanism, that's the statute, and that's what all of our software is based on. Again, another good thing, suggestion for a Facebook page, you may qualify, do you have a P.O. box? Question mark. You may qualify for a residence homestead if you live in this county. Something like that. Good point.
Okay. Okay. Sounds good. All right. I'm glad to know people take advantage of that. All right. Number 11, discussion on appointing a sole point of contact other than chief appraiser or other than district appraiser to interact with appraisal review board and holding ARB hearings off-site. Do I have this is a discussion, so do I have a motion to?
Excuse me.
Give me 1 second, sir. Let's bring it up and then I'll let you speak.
All right.
Yes, sir.
Make a motion for discussion on appointing a sole point of contact, other than the appraiser or other district appraisers, here to act to the review board and hold the RD hearings.
Yes, sir.
All right. And divided the question.
Could you say, I'm sorry, sir, could you state your name one more time?
Oh, Charlie Powers.
Charlie Powers, yes, sir, thank you.
That's right. I was on the appraisal review board for 8 years and chairman for the last 2 or 3 years.
Yes, sir.
You'll have to excuse me, I have Parkinson's.
Yes, sir, thank you for taking the time to come tonight and speak up, we appreciate it.
Speech a little.
Yes, sir.
Part A of this relates to who represents the district in an arm. And that should definitely be the chief appraiser.
Yes, sir.
The chief appraiser is in fact responsible for the district and should be the one on the other side of the table for all the arms.
That's my question.
Part B of this question speaks to doing something off-site. It would be a tremendous waste of taxpayer money to reproduce all of the infrastructure that's involved in the ARM process.
Yes, sir. So, the reason I like this,
Yeah, I have discussion on one shelf.
yeah.
I have some discussion.
To Mr. Powers, point there, I was not talking about, yes, sir, I do agree with you that the law states that either the chief appraiser or the one of our appraisers should be working, especially with ARB hearings representing the district. That's not what I meant. What I meant is that we provide our with certain services. These services are clerical. There's some other services. There's a statute in here that says the appraisal office may provide clerical assistance to the appraisal review board, including assisting the board with scheduling and arranging of hearings. There is no requirement for us to do this on site for the appraisal district. My belief is, and from what I've told, that we have citizens who believe that the appraisal district colludes in that it is not fair because of one of the proximity of the fact that the appraisal review board is at the office, the amount of time spent with the staff. The cost, actually, I did speak to, I asked our lawyer, Mr. Evans, about this, and he said that not that he doesn't know of any, he doesn't know of any district that does it because, as Mr. Powers pointed out, there's a cost to it. So I like to sort of I like to bifurcate. And I like to say, on one side, if we could afford to do this, because in appearance is everything. If we are able to move the ARB offsite, and we are able to hold our hearings offsite, is that one a good thing? Yes or no? And then if it is a good event, we can look at maybe finding out some clever ways to do it where it doesn't cost the taxpayer money. For instance, ARB hearings happen starting, when does ARB have, when's the first hearing?
It's starting really that personally, it goes out, they're typically every the month of May, typically, so, and, but the notice process starts before it, so it's like typically mid-April.
When was your first hearing? Okay,
I want to say before.
May 29th.
May 29th was 13th, was the next one, yeah, May 29th was the first hearing. Last year, we went through September-ish, late October.
I was gonna say, it was October. We're almost in Thanksgiving.
So we're talking about, we're going to finish, I have a couple of points. I do think that there's some advantages to this, but then I'm gonna give you, the disadvantages, so whenever you're all finished.
But do we even have a plan B, or, I mean, is there, it's not really even.
That's one of the steps. What, you know what, that's sort of an idea that I had was that, you know, we can move it over to the school, then we will have, one thing with the school.
Well, you have to have background checks, it would be during the school process, there's way too many.
When is school finished?
Oh, you're talking about in the summer. Well, you still have teachers and you summer school, you still have camp going on, you still have a lot.
School's still going on.
School, I mean, we're summer school's in session right now.
That is
And we have
fine.
kids coming out to eat at campus. I mean, I think that if you're gonna do it, it needs to be, we've got maintenance on all campuses. Working around the clock right now, but I mean, I think that these are discussions to have, but since we don't even have a clear plan, let's brainstorm different areas and cost, and then you've gotta have streaming, you've gotta have new way.
Yeah, in fact, I can piggyback on that. So the advantages are, you know, the word that you collude, I think that's a very strong word. Again,
I was describing other people, myself.
so you must have heard that from somebody. Is that correct?
Yes.
Okay, so the word was collude. It's a strong word, but I can see the advantages of, I've heard that it's confusing, sometimes intimidating, and if people are anxious. So if you're looking for a big benefit to the taxpayer, like, let's move it, right? The second advantage is it might be streamlined, it might actually go faster for the people that are there serving the citizen. And the reason that I say that is there's not all this external movement that's going on. Those are the two major advantages. Unfortunately, the disadvantages, in my opinion, outweigh the advantages. And statutorily, in the property tax code, at any time prior to the hearing, up until the time of the hearing, a person can just say, I want it. So they can be prepared to go to their formal proceeding. And at that time say, I want it informal. So when you think it's just about staffing, you're talking two registered professional appraisers because they're the only ones that can modify in an exchange settlement. So you would have to have one at the front ready to receive an informal. Then you would have somebody next to them as an office personnel, and they would be checking people in. Oh, it's Mr. and Mrs. Smith. You have a 10 o'clock appointment. I'll take your affidavit. Do you have any evidence? I'm going to scan this and upload this in the system. The third person would be the district representative in the protest hearing that's representing the district, and we have the ARB. And then at somebody at the back, you would have another office personnel that's recording the decision that the ARB is recording. And so what you have is you have 4 additional staff members. Looking at our current rates of, I just kind of spitballed this, but looking at our current rates of what an appraiser is and what an office staff member is, you're looking at about $200,000 just for 4 people. And so that does not even include leasing facility, the networking, the technology, which have to get additional licenses. It's vastly expensive. I asked the same question around, in all of my stuff, I've only known one other district that did it, but they did it in a time of crisis, you know, kind of like a disaster kind of thing.
Do we still have the trailer behind the building?
Oh, no, that's the one.
So the four employees, they're already presently engaged in the ARB, helping the ARB process.
Well, I didn't address the TLO. What I believe that you want in the first part of this is a TLO, which is a taxpayer liaison officer. That's not a problem. You already have one. This board has already made a recommendation for, I think it's subtractor G for Nancy Shaw was. Exactly, but it really has to deal with accepting applications, submitting that to the local administrative judge, and then make the decision on who to appoint to the ARB. There's no problem doing that. You as a board have the authority to expound those duties to the full duties. Our appraisal district is so small, and meaning that it does not move the population threshold to where we have to have one that has all duties. But you could absolutely do it. It's just, you would have to hire somebody to do that. And really what they're doing is they're taking the paper from the citizen, and then they're going to our person to put it in the system. So it's kind of convoluted. Again, there are some benefits, but I think the costs are really expensive.
I'd like to really harp on the technology aspect, would be a real challenge. Just knowing how these hearings are run and the interactions with the systems that are recording the vast amount of data, and that type of thing.
Do we know, currently, can I go on to, is there some place that has every single?
At the moment, as we speak, and Mr. Soto can correct me if I'm wrong, you cannot, there's certain information you can get on property information.
However, if I could, my question was, if I want to go back and we're talking about the technology aspect. Mm-hmm. Currently, if I want to go on and I want to look at an ARB hearing that's happened, say last year,
that's what I was going to
this year.
Suggest or mention is there was a change in the tax code in 2023, which required districts to make the results of ARB hearings available in an equivalent manner to what we have with property information section that's on the web.
Yeah.
If you want any information on our hearing, you have to do a PIA basically.
Correct. And we're doing those now. We've had many.
So on top of everything else, of the filing of the hearings and everything else, office staff is also dealing with PIAs.
Yeah, absolutely.
Is there anything?
Okay,
sorry.
Yes.
I'm gonna get the next
So,
agenda. Thank you, sir. Well, there's no action. Okay. So moving on to the next agenda item. The next agenda item is, 12, discuss the upcoming 2024 reappraisal plan. Discuss creation of subcommittees, discussion of times and date for public input for the reappraisal plan. Can I get a motion to get that for discussion?
Now I make a motion to discuss item number 12, upcoming 2024 reappraisal plan.
I had some thoughts from y'all.
Yes, sir.
Marty, would you like me to go first?
Second. All right. So let me just, if you turn here, it says, I have 2 pages here. I have a section from, it's the property tax code, local administration. And I'll read it. It says, to ensure adherence with generally accepted appraisal practices, the board of directors and appraisal district shall develop a biannually written plan for the periodic reappraisal of all property within the boundaries of the district according to the requirements of section 25.18. And shall hold a public hearing to consider the proposed plan not later than the 10th day before the date of the hearing. The secretary of the board shall deliver which shall deliver to the preceding officers of the governing body of each taxing unit participating in the district a written notice of the date, time, and place for hearing, not later than September 17th of each even-numbered year. The board shall complete its hearing and make any amendments, and by resolution finally approve the plan. Copies of the approved plan shall be distributed to the preceding officer of the governing body of each taxing unit participating in the district and to the comptroller within 60 days of the approval date. So this is what we are commanded to do under the, and it clearly states, the board of directors of the appraisal group shall develop. It puts the authority on us. And then if you turn the next page, it refers to section 25.18 of periodic reappraisals. Each appraisal office shall implement a plan for periodic reappraisal of property approved by the board of directors under section 605. The plan shall provide for the following reappraisal activities for all real and personal property in the district at least once every 3 years. Identifying properties to be appraised through physical inspection and other reliable means of identification, including deeds and other legal documentation, aerial photographs and land-based photographs, surveys, maps, and property schedules. 2. Identifying and updating relevant characteristics of each property in the appraisal records. Defining market areas in the district. Identifying property characteristics that affect property value in each market area, including the location and market area of property, physical attributes of the property such as size, age, condition. See legal and economic attributes, the easements, conveyance, leases, reservations, contracts, declarations, special assessments, ordinances, or legal restrictions. Developing an appraisal model that reflects the relationship among the property characteristics affecting value in each market area and determine the contribution of individual property characteristics. Applying the conclusions reflected in the model to the characteristics of the property being appraised. Reviewing the appraisal results to determine value. So this is what we have to do, and we have to do this before. Last time we didn't do this in time, and we didn't, as far as I know, not we, but the board was not the one to develop. The board passed one afterwards, so we need to go through and create a plan. We need to use the appraisal district to at least give us the format, but it's our job to make sure that the plan covers all of these areas. To do that, one, I'd like to create some subcommittees from, we have experts in the community, realtors, people who work within real estate who have a good idea about this. And to create a subcommittee of the population one, because we do have the expertise out there.
May I ask you a question?
Let me finish.
Well, the problem.
Sir, let me finish, and I will let you go. No, sit down, let me finish.
I'll wait, I'm
Okay.
just gonna say it here.
One is that we have a responsibility to get this done, and then we have enough expertise in our community to help us do this and do it right. And when the community has buy-in on the reappraisal process, and we had, they had buy-in to the process, they were actually part of it. A lot of these issues that we're having will go away because they will have been part of the process with us. Okay. Yes, sir. Sorry.
And that's okay. Somebody correct me if I'm wrong, in my opinion. Maybe Chief can chime in. The state does require the reappraisal plans and so on. I believe it's primarily pretty much on a 2-year schedule. But as far as I know, this district reappraises every year. Is that a true statement?
It's a true.
Okay, so I believe the processes are in place. All the things, it's just that we do it, that The appraisal district does it every year.
Okay, if I can, it's not the issue about when we do it. The issue is that every 2 years, this being one of the years, is this clear? This year, we have to pass, shall develop biennially a written plan for the periodic appraisal of all property, be it 1 year, 2 years, 3 years. We have to do it.
The board.
The board has to, this is our responsibility. Talk about it for you. Go ahead, Mr. Soto. Would you like, Mr. King would like to go too?
Yeah, I just want to clarify, so the board has to develop and adopt a plan every 2 years. And then usually the appraisal district is involved in that, when you talk about experts in that thing, we're usually involved. But as far as in the plan, we appraise property within the county every year. So they're two different things, they're just two different things. I just wanted to clarify that.
And the law allows us, if we decide to have a reappraisal plan, the legal issues about it, but within the statute, it says that we can do it 1, 2, or 3 years. That's within it. We can get a lawyer to argue that, but that's what the code says. And that's what we as the board decide. We could decide as the board, we could pass a plan. I'm getting off. What I would like to do though, Mr. King, I'm sorry.
Real quick, I want to bring up what you brought up. It's taxing on the citizens, it's taxing on our budgets, it's taxing on the staff to appraise these properties every year. I've got 12 properties. I got a sheriff, the group of managers, like EPAs, I had a CFO. It's always in 2 months every year. No, the development planners, like, please consider doing a third.
Yes, sir. Go ahead, stand up and speak. You could just like, sir, just state your name. State your name. No, state your name. That's fine.
Here's the thing just to keep in mind, like when you name the experts, and know this, I just want y'all to know, you can do it, correct. Reappraisal has to be done in one, let's get it done. He didn't name an appraiser, he said experts. So if I'm hearing it correctly, I can imagine that we're carving out the district. I don't know, maybe it's gonna use some other people.
No, not at all.
Okay, well, here's something that's super important. Whatever gets made and approved, we have to follow, it has to be legal. That's the old, like for our license. It's sort of like telling an electrician, that's actually who governs us, the same people who governs electricians and plumbers. It's like saying, hey, go do this. And they walk in there and they go, I actually can't do this. This isn't code. And so when this thing is made, it has to, and like, let's say you said, hey, let's not do this every year. You have to know how that relates to chapter 23. So these different chapters touch each other, right? They bounce off of each other. Sometimes they don't like each other. Sometimes they kind of mesh. So we would have to know what that meant. In an area that has quick turnover, you can imagine a place that didn't have a lot of sales. Once every 3 years would be maybe almost too much. But then when you have an area that has a lot of movement, and building, and you got DR Horton coming in there, then you start to have these moving parts. So all I'm saying, guys, is it has to be legal, so that when it's made and we get it, we're like, yes, we can follow this. And it has to be a reappraisal plan that respects chapter 23. And that's it. If those things are in there, and there was a way for us to not work as hard, because Randy's right, it's super hard. After the hurricane, we did it 3 times in 1 year. I mean, it sucks. But I'm just, that's probably not hard, but I'm just telling you it's hard. So, but I don't know how it works.
Well,
You know what I mean?
I think my encouragement would be for us to hold a workshop, very similar to what we do with the school district. You have your key players in there, so you would have Chief Soto in there, you would have Ray in there, you would have Nancy, you would have Al, you would have the key players, and then we would possibly invite realtor, whatever other, I know I always say it wrong and Kyle gets mad at me. But anyway, the realtor in there and have them come in and do a workshop, make sure it's legal, do the appraisal plan as a deal, move it on, and then there'd be an official meeting. But we're gonna do the workshop in the front.
Yeah, and, yes, sir, go ahead. Just state your name. please.
Kevin Davison.
Yes,
What
sir.
I'd like to ask, actually ask you, in the reappraisal plan, if you choose 1, 2, or 3 years, you're still responsible for the correct appraisal of the property every single year.
That is correct. Yeah, and so, if I could just expand just a little bit, what was touched on, like I said, you know, you can imagine some dusty Texas, it's filled with ag and fields, and you got 28 residential homes in the county. The reappraisal plan in that regard makes makes a lot. The market's not moving. The only thing that's moving is the ag and the oil in that kind of situation. And then to piggyback on what Mr. Jamison said, it doesn't alleviate the responsibility for the PPS and map reviews associated with every single property in the district, which is in the county. So those are two different things. It's important for you to consider. And the last thing that I would say is in regards to subcommittees, I actually think it's a good idea to get people involved. But the end result, so imagine 2 documents out of this subcommittee. I'm just giving you gross examples. Say the first example is, okay, this is going to sound silly. Everything house is worth $100,000. Every yellow house is worth $200,000. Again, that's a gross example of silliness. But if we were, you as a board were, and I'm just saying this, if you were to adopt something like that, we would send that to the comptroller, and the comptroller goes, what is this? In the same regard, if you wrote a Magna Carta and it infinitesimally tried to explain every modification of every value modifier, then you're painting yourself into a corner. Both extremes are not, they're not helpful. But I do think that subcommittees is a good idea, but just please consider those 2 extremes and try to just understand what we are at a 30,000.
Let's just take the current reappraisal plan, revamping, modifying.
There you go.
Learn from our mistakes of what didn't work and fix it.
All right, sounds good. So we are going to, so we're gonna move on. Could you please provide a list of people, Mr. Soto, who would like to come to some of those workshops outside of the staff? You could have, I mean, of course, whatever staff. We just gotta make sure we like it.
You know, in the staff members, what I can identify right now, Mr. Presley is in charge of our chief operations for residential and land category A and C. If you wanted to develop a plan associated with business, personal property, and ag valuation, I identified Jack Pena. A commercial valuation would be Aiden Burke. So I would say that I would make available 3 members of my staff. They don't have to attend every meeting, but they would at the very least take notes from the meeting and tell you possible pitfalls and give you some counsel. Does that sound awesome?
Sounds good. And to address Mr. Presley, I agree. I have no intention of cutting the appraisal district out, and I understand that the reappraisal plan is required by law to follow certain criteria. Mr. Jameson, it's every other year that the comptroller does a ratio study on this. So there's something called a map, and a map is it's where they make sure that we check our boxes. It's basically a check. It's not done, but anyway. So it's we're checked on our appraisals every other year, not every year. Is that correct, Mr. Soto?
The property value study is every year. The way that the calendar works, they typically work from a June to June. So there really are every year when you consider the data set that they use. The only people that it could possibly help or hurt is the school district, because they're the only ones that they get the funding or get the funding removed. It's called local value or state value.
School district.
Or Robin Hood.
Exactly.
Okay, so moving on. Thank you, sir. Moving on to agenda item 14. presentation, discussion of current leave, time status, compulsory, temporary time, sick leave, thank you. Holiday, Mr. Powers doesn't have anything on me here. I don't have an excuse, I just got a fat tongue. Holiday time and any other leave addressed in district personnel policies for staff. Can I, I'll go ahead with the motion. I don't have the motion, okay. So, this, to tell you where this came out of is we have talked about, the board, before my time, has talked about the amount of days that we've had, and we seem to have a lot of comp time days and a lot of vacation days that we need to get a hold on, and I just want to keep that conversation going. So, Mr. Soto?
Yes, exactly. You're not the first board or the second board to have a conversation. It would have been 2 boards back, to the best of my recollection, about how do we bleed some of this time off. We've had discussions about, do you buy some of the time down? Ultimately, it applies with just labor law. The district has a policy where we do not pay overtime, and therefore any time over regular time. And you would ask the question, like, how do we have some of these large amounts? The reality is that it's easy for me to say we're overworked, but the reality is we've been increasing in a workload. We've been through a lot. An easy description of that is my staff, and chief, has been displaced 5 times. With the hurricane to the city service center by the water tower to Laurel Street, into the building, flood out, remodel back in. So there's been a lot of movement. What happens in that situation? The property tax salary doesn't stop. Like, it still expects us to certify on time. It still expects us to provide those values to the entity in a timely fashion. And so what happens? You have my staff members that just step up to the plate. The 2 members, which is items number 4 and 5, I would wager to say that if anybody could have those 2 employees, they could build any company that they want. So the kind of employees that come early, they stay late, they own their responsibility of their duties, they're knowledgeable, they're professional, they're courteous, they're kind. And so, yeah, we just need to, you as a board, I want your input, like, you want to buy half that time down. I've done a little quick calculation, I'll just throw this out, not for any kind of record other than what's being reported. But just if you were to buy down those number 4 and 5, just on comp times, you're looking at about 10-5 apiece. You're looking at about 21,000. So just to give you a ballpark, that would go a long way to kind of resetting everybody, because you can see that everybody else has less than 7 days of comp time. Vacation is used every year to get down, so we're kind of mid-year, but everybody's going to carry less than 30 days, and so that's typical. Obviously, the individuals that have been with us the longest are going to be carrying the most.
What's the maximum that you can carry over?
Like in vacation, it's 30. You have to use 30 every year.
You have to use 30 every year.
Yeah, so like the 36 right here, they have to use that number has to be below 30 at the end. And yes, we get into situations that they need to, like, hey, get out of here. Like, you need to get out.
So, okay. In sick days, how do those accumulate? Do they roll over each year?
Yeah, they roll over. Let's see. I can read the policy here. Sick leave is accrued. Let's see. Yeah,
It's 8 hours a month.
There you go. It's 8 hours a month.
Yeah, there's 8 hours a month, and there is nothing you can roll over there.
Yeah, the rollover, whatever on sick leave, and it's 8 hours a month. I think that's right.
So, Anna, explain that to me again, please.
You can secure 8 hours a month.
Is there any maximum that you?
I cashed mine out when I became elected official, because I didn't use, I'm not gonna do something out me.
Hey, Kobe, is it, with your experience in business, is it normally you can accumulate as much sick time as you want without having to catch that?
Private industry is totally different than government. I mean, I have worked government, I worked in higher education for many years for 3 different states. Each state was different. So, you know, I'm really, with my experience with painting with that right now. What I would like to just make a general statement, and I'm not sure how staff will see this, but I think we're a little bit overwhelmed with these days. Not knowing the history, I've been here 3 years now on the board. But at the same time, what I have done both in private industry, a business owner, and in government industry, when we were seeing comp time like that as a manager, my just ballpark spitball answer would be, you got 3 employees, we got 4 Fridays in a month, I would rotate every employee and take a 3-day weekend. And I would have started that a year ago. Not turn down. You know, to take a 3-day weekend, one weekend a month, 1 employee will be out on Friday. And that's how I was asked how I would handle it.
Yeah, that's a great suggestion, and I did.
And in 1 year, you'd be done.
I did, that was a great suggestion. I started in January. Obviously, I stopped in May because I need all hands on deck for the appeal season. As soon as we get past the appeal season, those 2 individuals are encouraged, hey, this one needs to go to Arkansas, that one needs to go to Alaska. And they're still taking every Friday off. So yes, there's an internal mechanism for it. You're not the first board to have this conversation with. And if you have an idea that you'd like to execute, we'll develop in how to do that.
I think that's, if we're not the first board to discuss it, and there's been several boards to discuss it, then I think it's time for you, like you said, to
Yeah,
execute it. And
I've already done that this year. Yeah, for sure.
If I real quick.
did the sick days, that's what you're buying back?
No, I'm talking about
I was,
days.
I was gonna say,
No,
make sure that there was no sick days being.
Well, there is a cash out.
Well, your sick days, as a person, if I'm not sick, I'm not gonna use them.
Right.
There's always that emergency, you need surgery, and you've got that way where these people, you have sick leave on the books for them, they're dedicated, they're not calling in
Right.
because, oh, I have sick days.
I would rather.
Since I have 8 hours, they're calling in.
Got it.
And so these people are making their sick time for an emergency. So if you do get
I can't catch, I see both
Yeah.
sides of that, and maybe thinking about, go ahead.
Yeah, no, what I was gonna say, if you just look at this and you look at the math on the both extremes with both types of employees are represented very well. You have the people, well,
I mean, we don't know that from the data because, you know what, we don't know employee 1 through 10, how long they've been.
no, I understand. Oh, yes, I understand that, but.
So I don't want to judge anyone on the day because I don't know if, for example, let's look at employee.
Employees number.
And let's look at employees, they have the least amount of sick. Is that only because they got hired a week ago, or is that because they've been here 10 years and they call in sick every week? So I can't judge that statement based on the information you gave me. That's all I'm saying.
Okay, so.
That's all I'm saying.
Yeah, if you looked at employee A.
I don't know what, you see what I'm getting at?
Sure, of course.
So maybe if I knew employee A was hired, those 2 numbers, vacation and sick leave are a criteria for how long they've been here, as well as maybe, some that your sick days, and I've been in management and I understand that I've got the people who call.
So I'm just confused, yeah, that's.
So maybe a little more backup would help us in determining how we can divide down or keep these numbers. Divide out or the pass out, if maybe we have a little more detail.
Absolutely, and so what I'd like to say for the record, I didn't give this an open session because I didn't want to.
It's personal.
That's
Right, so if you want to have one board member come in, I can give you the names, I can give you their years of service, and then you can develop a plan to, kind of get it.
Well, we can also talk about that in executive session, because yes, but we don't. Let's just discuss it.
So,
I am glad that you gave it there, because I've been brought up numerous times, and I'm glad to see the actual numbers. And present the real trends going forward. Some of that comp time, either bought down or used out, based on the history. of the problems that the district has.
since, Ms. V, since you were on the appraisal board, since they had created appraisals, could you tell me what y'all had, what the conversations that y'all had to, you and I'm asking Mr. Wright too, what some of the suggestions y'all had in your time about dealing with this, working these down, maybe give us some advice?
Dealing with this comp time thing.
Yes, sir.
Well, that's kind of the same conversation y'all had, and I know sometimes it gets very intense for these people, to roll there, and you can get it all done in that. And, I think, like, working with the employees, has worked out a system that seems to work, and I don't know that anybody was complaining about it. That's happening.
Okay. Mr. Wright, do you have anything to add to it?
It's one of the economics for me. You pay somebody to do a job, and in theory, they get it done in 40 hours. Well, they don't. And so you ask that they start trimming, taking Fridays or something like that, and that works about as well as any other manipulation. Where do you want to spend your money? You want to hire another staff or two to get rid of the compensation kind of comp time that's over there, or do you just allow it to grow? I don't have a good answer. The same situation exists at the school.
So my sort of feeling on this is like sick days. I mean, we don't have paid sick leave as far as I know, right? Or do we? Do we have paid sick leave?
Yeah.
We have.
That's what your sick days are.
No, we don't, somebody can't say, I do like 2 months like sick leave. And we don't
But
have
that
that.
will be, they have to.
Right, so my point is that like sick days is as many as people want to accrue, like I think that's awesome and they should. I understand vacation days. We're talking about in terms of comp time. If we're really looking at just 2 employees, could we look at possibly, I mean, that's not consideration, but possibly a combination of working an extra, having an extra day off and knocking it down. And then come to sort of a happy medium.
I think it's, my suggestion would be for Mr. Turner to come to us with a suggestion of what you feel works best and how you feel it would best fit your office, and then we'll give us option A and B, and we'll go from there.
Yeah, you know what, I would have some conversations with employees, get some real, like, goals of like, hey, we're planning this vacation for 3 weeks, and I'm gonna get rid of 4 days. You know.
Well, and I think again, it's what works best for you, it's what works best for the staff. What this tells me is you have 100 days.
Absolutely.
And kudos to them for working as long as they are and staying healthy, and that should be rewarded. But you've got to figure out what works best for you and everybody else in that office. Y'all come up with a plan, option A and option B, and we'll go from it. You know, and we'll do it in September.
Mr. Chingham, yes, sir. Thank you. And I know y'all deal with this at the county too.
We deal with the county, but I'm not talking to the county commissioner right now, but what I'm saying is you have to look at it in another way too. Since Hurricane Harvey, we have not been a normal county. This county and the growth in this county is phenomenal. Everything. What is the prime indicator of lack of take vacation, sick time and everything? Sick time means you've got a pretty good plan in place that normally people don't have to take off sick. You know, and the county has a good plan for that. But the people that are getting these massive times of comp time and everything, they're the ones out there working. I mean, they're working. And if this county was, halfway into the state, we wouldn't be having this issue. This is Aransas County. Aransas County is one of the 17 counties that were so affected by Harvey and are still affected by Harvey. But I don't know how the chief appraiser doesn't. I mean, I've dealt with several of the appraisers around, and certainly with the staff and everything. And I have not seen one of them out there fluffing off. So whenever you look at this, it's not only how you manage your people, it's do you have enough people to do that? And so you have to weigh it. You have to weigh it. And you were talking about, somebody made the question a while ago, I think Mr. Soto did. You know, this is what it would cost us to buy these people down. That's a definite thing. But how much would you have saved, or how much time and how much for the citizens would you have had if you'd had 2 more appraisers or a couple more clerks or whatever? Because if these people are out there working 10 hours a day rather than 8 hours a day, or if they're working Sundays, you know, sometimes, and I've seen cars up there on Sundays and everything. I think Mr. Soto and the staff need to be complimented on the fact that they don't have more of this. Because you're talking about an expansion that's phenomenal. You can look at Houston, all these big cities and everything, they never expanded as fast as what Rockport's doing. And you got the same number of people you had 5 years ago, 10 years ago, everything trying to do what they were busy doing then. And so I think you're looking at the comp time and the sick time and all the other stuff. I think you're looking at it in a halfway picture. Because, and same thing, I know that Ms. Marshall has the same issue up in her office. It's not that you got a lot of people that are riding the clock. I mean, all you can do is just go up and look at any of the treasure district people and everything. They're busy. So I think you got to broaden this out and look at it a different way.
Do we?
Yeah.
Yes, sir.
We're looking at these people, are they exempt and not exempt employees? The Texas salary employees they're exempt from overtime. So if you're giving it to them, you're not gonna have, it's a salary employees that are exempt. Hourly, but if you got a salary, you just figure it out 3 hours. It's because I have business.
Hold on, excuse me, here.
Exempt and not exempt.
Hold on. Yes, sir, I'll let you go. But 1 second, Mr. Caden, can you just say that one more time?
Because I have a business and I'm responsible to my shareholders, and we don't give out. If I'm a salary person, I guarantee you she works 50 hours a week. I guarantee you I work 7 hours a week. The salary is commensurate on the work you're expected of. You're not tied to hourly, overtime, comp time, if you're a salary employee. Let's run like a business. So like
All right.
If they're not salaries, they're
hourly.
They get comp. Yeah, their hour pay based on no overtime pay.
When you guys start getting, whether it's March to October, talk about setting
There's no
contract. The help, just remember that.
Do we have job descriptions for each of the employees also?
They're being modified because we had an interview clerk and we're changing public service like 1 and 2. We'll see that in the budget, in the breakout there. But we do have some job description.
Yes, sir, with the hat.
Yeah. I'm Francis Cemetery. I'm a salaried employee. I live here in Rockport. I've listened to this gentleman's statement. You start pulling that exempt, non-exempt stuff with folks who are getting a 1% raise. I wouldn't drop my tail at 1%, just to be clear. You start pulling that with folks who are working as hard as some of these folks are. These folks who are able to put back some of this comp time. That's kind of a nebulous term when we use things like comp. It sounds like something that we're giving to people, but it's not being given. They're earning that. And I question whether they're earning it as far as equally time and a half, or is that straight pay? So you can take that term wrong, use comp, you think something that's like just a freebie, but that's not what it is. These people are working hard, they're earning that. If you start treating them like, this gentleman seems to be suggesting that you don't have to give it to them by Texas law. It's a wonderful time to live in the coastal Bend right now. We're the energy corridor of Texas and beyond. There are plenty of chemical plants that are hiring right now, gas plants, what have you. You're hard workers. You're you're gonna lose them to someplace that's gonna pay them more than you anyhow. So if you start, this is something that can be seen as a benefit to them. They wanna be able to store that stuff up and use it at a later date. Hey, they're busting their tails to do it. There's lots of places they can go down the street, you take away the little benefit that they're getting with regard to that, because they're not getting overtime. You're gonna see them come on down there and, they can email me their resume.
Yes, sir. One second, we have one other
Just
gentleman.
talk about salary versus hourly, and you mentioned something was mentioned about dedication. A dedicated employee will stay and work till the job gets done. And what Santos just said, you're exactly right. You put these people on a salary also means if my job gets done in 10 hours, see ya. That's correct. So there is not any way humanly possible the appraisal district can get the job they have to do done. The rules and regulations get more, it just grows exponentially every year. It's the communication part is a big deal because the paperwork is mountainous. It never ends, and it only gets more, and it only gets more because our lawmakers in Austin are the cause of this problem, not the appraisal district. The lawmakers in Austin are the ones who make the law, the appraisal district has to follow, and we can continually blame the appraisal district and put another burden on the appraisal district to distract them for the taxpayer. Hey, go help the appraisal district, they're back up. Our guys are working really, really hard and doing a great job.
I'm just curious, what did you used to be?
I was the chief appraiser of Grant County.
Are you currently a chief appraiser anywhere? No? Okay. All right, so let's move on to the next agenda item, which is, consideration and possible action on Aransas County preliminary 2025 budget, chief appraiser.
Sure, if you'll turn to the right packet, there's two documents. For the record, the statutory requirement, we didn't have to have a meeting for really. As you know, this board statutorily approves the budget sometime in August. This is the time where we have the requirement as the chief to submit it both to the taxing units and to the record. For the record, not only do we have a copy in the possession, but everybody was a certified copy from our office today. And so with the taxing units matter. The end result is, if you'd like me to summarize, and I'd be glad to answer any questions, but again, you're not taking any action on this today. You can kind of consume it over time, and I'm available to you to answer a specific question, like why did this line item go down, why did that line item go up? But as a result, what you currently have staffed that the previous board had approved was a 10.5 kind of, what was a half? It was a half-year shadow. We've done some internal moving around. Nancy Shaw is going to take the bookkeeping and the first position. She's been shadowing the entire year, and she's going to take that position and run with it. We have hired, our shadow has finally come on as of June 3rd. And so she's working in the front office. She is a public service clerk number 2, I believe. Our number 1, our public service clerk number 2 went to 1, so we did some modifications there. So we're asking for that other half employee. At the end of the day, our number starting in 23 was 10 employees. Now we're moving to 11 employees. It's interesting that we're talking about comp time and trying to alleviate some of the things. This is what we try to stay away from for so long. Because you think about like 2 employees busting their butts, the cumulative total of comp time, I just quantified, it's about $21,000. At some point, you have to alleviate the workload. Some of the things that were brought up are their statutory requirements, unfunded mandates. You may or may not know we have exemption requirements now. With the exemption, every 5 years, those have to be reviewed. That's an unfunded mandate that was in the most recent legislative session. We currently have what we call a hybrid that was Beth for a few years. She's working both in the GIS mapping, she does mapping associated with new subdivisions. She's really the chief scheduler when it comes to the ARB season right now. And so those are some of her office duties. She's also concurrently taking RPA classes to be qualified to be a registered professional appraiser. So she's gonna eventually run it into or migrate over to the appraisal staff. What I'm suggesting with the 11 employee model is adding really that extra 17,000. We had 20,000. I'm asking for 17. I'm asking for a total of 37,000 for that 11th employee, and there would be an office personnel. There would be what you call an exemption customer service specialist. Again, we want to address the unfunded mandate. The clock's already ticking. This is year one. Every 5 years, we have to do a review of all the exemptions. And there's overflow in both the deep work that has been done. Not only is Nancy doing each work, but there's a lot of overflow in a lot of different areas, especially this time of year. I think Board Member Alston, you mentioned like you also have to do PIAs during the same time. Yeah, all of that stuff has to be done. If you get a citizen that says, I want this, we have to try to respond. There's also, hey, I'd like to see this piece of information, or my mom's got a homestead over here. There's all kinds of things. And so what I'm asking for essentially is that other $17,000 for that 11th member. You'll see year over year, the net result of all of this, the proposed, the actual of 2024 to the proposed 2025, you'll see a total expense of 2.71%. When you look at the bottom line, without asking for very much, the big benefit that we have this year is we don't have $47,000 associated with the building projects. For the record, the last install for that front window is coming in this weekend, so it's good that we're getting that behind us. You can note that the legal is remaining the same. I know that that's one of the other action items, and you can have Mr. Evans more in detail about how that's all promulgated. Let's see, what else do we have that's different? I'm asking for board review expense. That is calculated through an estimate of total hours, and then you take the total hours and you divide by half days, because you pay half days. Sometimes you have a board session that's just in the morning and you don't have anything in the evening, so you pay in half days. They've been at $100 a day for a long time. For a long time. We did a recent survey. A county that's similar to ours in the population and parcel count is B County. I believe they pay $150 a day. I'm asking for $135 a day in this calculation. So just know that that's what I've built into this method. What are some other?
What about building and ground maintenance? Because that's
We've had some AC repair recently. There's some there's some electrical poles. There's some damage from the hurricane, both in our front and back. And when we get some electrical, we just want to cut them down and things like that. There is some.
How would be city or county?
No, I've checked. I think I've looked and I'm still looking. That's the reason I haven't done the work, is because I'm unsure if it's actually theirs, but I've looked around and I don't see any lights like that. So having said that, there's some work I want to do. Also with not that we do landscape, but there's the areas that have the rocks. We've had, a landscape person, people in County Yard, and rocks are everywhere. They're causing a hazard. We want to not cement them in, but we want to put that over there. We want to do some of that kind of work. So that's some of the reasons that the building and maintenance was that.
Right, for legal services.
Yeah, that's some of those costs are associated with that. I'm just estimating. Some of these estimates come from what we spent thus far, and then we just look at like 2/3 of the year more and what that number would be. So.
Can I ask a question?
Sure.
Clarification to go back to if we move this shadow person, we increase to a staff of 11. got a number here, 37,000, is that person's gross salary or have we built in their benefits to that number?
No, the benefits is on the top columns.
Right.
Like if you're looking just at salary, it would be the bottom model in 37. So then you take that 37 and then it's the return, like all those benefits are calculated in to the right. And so then you look at those individual figures and those are reflected in the first section, which is called benefits. So you can see that there's a group hospital insurance that goes up a little bit. You've got retirement that goes up. And then I think the only other one that goes up is the long-term disability associated with that.
Okay, I just need clarification on that, make sure that I understand the number.
Yeah. Data processing, we're about $3,000. Another thing that of note, bookkeeping and auditing, I think our fees are going up just a little bit, but I did throw in a little bit of cushion there. It's a shame when you have somebody that's 24 years as your bookkeeper, and then, you know, it's great, but she's only been doing it for 1 month. And so there's some things that need, there's some what's called resident knowledge that needs to be transferred. I've built in a little bit of money for us to be able to call Josie back and say, hey, listen, you know, you can charge $5 an hour. Just give us a little advice on what to do this time of year or this time of year. Once we get through that this year, it should kind of settle back down.
Are we having difficulty finding ARB members? Is it proving more difficult? Is that why we're looking at increasing, or is it just as a bonus to the ARB?
Well, first and foremost, I'd like to answer the first question first. The way the law is set up is an application goes to the TLO officer, and then it's submitted to the administrative district.
What's TLO?
Taxpayer liaison. So the taxpayer liaison receives the application and goes to the judge. I don't know about it until they're elected. So as far as the number of ARB members and how hard it is to get them, I can say that it's a tough job because I see it on their faces of how they have to listen to cases intently. And there's some long days. As far as just like increasing the price per day, it's just trying to keep in step with things. I mean, because for the most part,
Can I offer a couple of data points? Okay, first off, I think to address one of your questions, Jeff, there are at least 2 counties in the area that have not been able to staff their ARBs. We're very fortunate to have the continuity of service with the ARB members that we do have. As a point of reference, Mike did a great job of characterizing. We have a survey, I surveyed 12 of the counties around us that are paying ARBs anywhere from $100 a day that we're at to $210 in Oasis County, you know, and, you know, just look at the workload. While last year was an abnormal year, but finding people that have the desire to serve on a board like this for as long as the requirements are hourly, okay, is really tough. In 2020, there were, you won't remember these numbers, but it might give you some perspective. There were 1,800 protests filed and 400 hearings. In 2022, there were 2,500 protests filed. So that's from 1,700 to 2,500, and 740. So we almost, they doubled going into 2022. Going to 2023, it went to 4,200 protests filed and 1,400 hearings that we had. And we went from typically up until last year, we held full week hearings. In other words, Monday to Thursday is what we meet, and we finished the majority of the hearings in August. Last year we went till October 18th. So again,
this is,
What was your term? How many new board members came in between the previous year and that year?
yeah, well, okay, so just, the term is 2 years.
Yes, sir.
And between, this year and last year, 3 of my board members, renewed. Okay, so all three of them came back. And then there's 2 of us, myself and one other person that are in the second half of their term. So, we've gone at least 2 years now with the continuity of the board, which is just, I can't tell you how helpful it is because of the learning curve that's involved. It's not that we're tax experts or appraisal experts, okay? But there's a process here, okay? And you know, learning how that's done and to apply it consistently and uniformly, day in and day out, is a testament to the people that we've got. And I rue the day that, you know, we have to replace more folks.
All right, very good. Any other questions for the budget? We're going to bring this back up again. You have to outline the time to look at it.
This is just an exhibition.
Okay, so moving on. Do I have any objections? Consideration and possible action on consideration and possible action regarding chief appraiser's employment. Now it's the agenda and open item. Ask the board for a motion whether to go into closed section under government code section 55. 55. Okay, so, consideration and possible action regarding chief appraiser's employment. I have on my list here of folks, I have several. Mr. Cheney,
yes.
Would you like to speak first, sir?
Sure.
Yes, sir.
Oh, thank you very much.
Thank you, sir.
I want to first of all let y'all know that I'm not speaking for the Commissioner's Court or any member of the Commissioner's Court. I'm speaking for me as the owner of 210 Myrtle Lane. I just happen to be working and had my shirt on. But I haven't had a lot of as a citizen, I've not had a lot of contact with the appraisal district. But as an elected official, 16 years with the county and almost 8 years with the school district, plus being city manager for 10 years and going back, I've had a lot of dealings with the appraisal district. And I can tell you right now, for the amount of work that is here to be done, this appraisal district is incredible. And that starts with the chief appraiser. The chief appraiser is a singular issue, unlike any other appointed official that deals with such a broad spectrum of something that hits every single citizen, and that's in their pocketbook. I have had issues where my constituents would come up either as city manager, as a county commissioner or a school board member, where they say, well, I just don't understand the appraisal. And I said, well, go down and talk to the appraisal district. Whenever Mr. Jameson was the chief appraiser, I had the same fortunate response from him as well. Whenever he decided to retire and Mr. Soto became on board, it is not decreased, it is increased. And also, whenever Mr. Jameson was chief appraiser, I have worked in counties where the chief appraiser was absolutely hated. But the legislature changed that a lot. They changed it originally back whenever they went to the central appraisal district, where, you know, the school didn't have its appraisal and so on and so forth to make it simpler. But somebody's good idea really got to be a real big deal. But they set up the central appraisal office where it's underneath the chief appraiser. male or female, tall or short, doesn't matter. That person has to know so much stuff. This is the first appraisal district meeting I've been to in several years. But I can tell you that the questions that y'all are asking Mr. Soto and his staff are far and above what they have been in any of the ones I've been to in the past. I compliment the board on that, and I compliment the opportunity y'all to look at your number one. You only have one employee, and I cannot tell you, in my opinion, and it's my opinion, not your opinion or anybody else's. In my opinion, he's top notch, and you ought to give him a raise. But if you look at it, all the stuff that's handled, you look at the amount of challenges that you've had. A lot of that is not because of anything that the president has done, it's what the state's done. And you know, the method by which they appraise property over the last 30 or 40 years that I've been involved with it has changed from knives to elephants. I mean, that's what it's done. And every time they do, you have to have somebody on board. And fortunately, Mr. Soto has several people that go far beyond just their initial job and helping out with this. So that's the only way you can do the job. It's the only way you can do it. Starting with the folks at the window, they represent or they reflect their management. So anyway, that's my opinion. If you only give him a raise, I totally support you in that. But he is, without doubt, probably the best small county appraiser with a massive amount of growth. I mean, folks, we're not talking a little bit of growth. We're talking about, top 10 growth areas in the nation. And they're dealing with about the same number of people. Anyway, thank you very much for inviting me.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. It's nice to see an elected official come to one of these meetings. Yes, Mr. Powers. It's nice to see an elected official come to this meeting. I've only seen, in all of my time, I've only seen 2 other elected officials show up to the other meetings. One was Commissioner Russo, and the other one was I guess my colleague on the board here, Ken. So, Ms. Austin, so I really appreciate you taking the time. Thank you, sir. Mr. Powers, would you like to speak? I got 2 other.
Really good, and I am going to do your appraisal of this gentleman, but I'd like to put my 2 cents in.
Yes, sir.
And say that he's an excellent chief appraiser.
Okay, thank you, sir. Mr. McCollum, you're up to speak.
Thank you, Jeff. Yeah, I'm doing well, and I spent probably between 10 and 15 years on the appraisal district board. 6 or 7 of those, I was the board chairman. Had the pleasure of working with some really outstanding chief appraisers. Chad Smith, Jamerson, that's over there, Mike Smith. And I've come to appreciate how we really echo a lot of the comments that Jack made. It's a tremendously detailed business. It's a tremendous grasp, tax laws, processes, and procedures, as well as personnel management that we talked about just a moment ago. Couple of anecdotes, if I may. Mike was he came in, I believe, as chief appraiser the first part of 2017. And sure enough, guess what happened in August of that year? Michael Harvey came. And the next morning, they walked over to the appraisal district, 601 South Church, in one area. And the county and the city were both very, very good about making room for or providing accommodations for the appraisal district personnel to work and carry on, because the process in Austin went on no matter what happened that year. And one of the things that struck me, and it goes back to some of this comp time discussion, we were meeting somewhere right after the storm, probably September or October of 2018. And the county judge at the time and the Rockport mayor came in. We need best estimate you could give us of the loss in property value as a result of the storm. Mike took that bull by the horns, Beverly Secret, they put together a process which I think maybe involved my and came up in a relatively short period of time with an estimate of the loss of property value. I don't remember what that number was, Mike.
It was pretty big. I don't remember.
It was 30 or 40%.
Yeah, absolutely.
It was serious. And they delivered it to the judge and Mayor Rockford because they needed that to help justify grants and so forth. Working with the officials of the line. That was a terribly impressive for the work. And I had to mention how hard those people worked during that period of time. Back to the top. He's got a system where it keeps the folks happy. The amazing thing about that, and I'll shut up, is when it came time to certify the roads, and I guess it was late spring of 2018, you were within 1 or 2%, right? You know, hell of a job. So I'm a big fan of Mike's and what he can do, and I think he's a great technical guy. I don't think he ever forgets him. And great leader. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Yes, sir. I have Mr. Wright. You're up to speak.
Thank you. If you don't mind, I'd rather sit.
Absolutely, sir. Yes, sir.
I'm going to take a different tactic. As I look at the agenda, the amended agenda, I assume that you alone put the agenda together. Am I wrong, correct?
You are wrong.
Okay, who's the opponent?
Mr. Evans, the lawyer.
Okay. You've been on for 5 months. And in that 5 months, you have somehow become disappointed with Mr. Soto's job. I'd say serious issue. So I want to give you some employment law, and you would be wise to follow it. If you did not, in his December appraisal, cover this, and you weren't here, so you couldn't have, and you want to dismiss him now, or consider that, or put on a growth plan, with no evaluation that you took part in, no communication to him as to shortcomings that he perceives to exist, no measurable goal set forth so that he can accomplish them to do a better job for the client. If any of that is true, and I suspect that all of it is, let me give you some very important data, and it's going to matter to the people sitting to your right. You're acting in a very dangerous area, sir. None of you have D&O insurance. Do you know what D&O insurance is?
No, you can straight and tell us, no, sir.
Directors and officers insurance. And you're about to, if you do what this language appears to have to do, is to consider termination of an employee without any conversation along those lines. You're going to get sued. You don't have any protection individually. So I suggest as you take this on, because the three of y'all now, and the fourth, you got a new one coming on, is going to walk into something like that. I'm not joking, Jerry. That's a dangerous area you're working in. You don't contemplate getting rid of somebody with absolutely no communication, no references as to what things need to be done differently. So I encourage you to go to the closed session, and the rest of y'all check your safety muscles because you will get sued.
Thank you. Mr. King, and then your last name is Santos, or first name is Santos? First name is Santos. Sorry, I'll let you have to speak.
So the Fireway Jack thing is gone into rabbit hole, nobody opened up. I can't even say Texas is a right work state. And I fired people hundreds over the years, and it's just your service on me. But this is the thing. That said, my ability person, because when I call, he gives me respect and he answers the phone. He doesn't rush me off the phone, he educates me, and I find that from his staff and everybody else I work with. And it's really not a good thing because you have a personal language when you attack the 30, you're talking about 6 of them, 6 counties that know them. I do appreciate Mike and his staff, his team, because they do answer every question I ask, and I know. I want to appreciate that, and it's hard work. But being a tax appraiser is, I don't know what worse job I can have in this county, is to be a tax appraiser, because we can always disagree whenever we disagree. It's a no-win job that somebody has to do, but that's how I do what, we do have, as a business standpoint, like I said, if you're telling me my customers have been out in 4 years, my complaint process is down to 400%, there's a problem. What is it? Because you can't go from 200 hearings to 800 to 1,000, 1,200, 1,000 contests, 2,000, 3,000, 4,000. Something's wrong. It's not just in this county. This is in all counties in Texas. And there is a very negative opinion. I mean, only government I hear they say what a good job everybody's doing. In business, we tell the truth. The word on the streets here is there's a lot of people unhappy with the process, the intimidation of it. But I want to read something because the business I would tell my employees this: you got to carve out and do, but remember, your position of trust and civic responsibility, you shall conduct yourself as to the merit, to build confidence and respect in the public, conduct yourselves in such a manner to render, to serve in a kind, considerate, and patient manner. If you agree, you disagree, but you can disagree. It's a hard job. And again, like I said, I am not against my children. I respect them and I appreciate them and everything he helps me with in the staff and Val, everybody's been great. But just, you've got to try harder. You've got 4 times, like you say, the overtax. I think it's stressful to do it. Like you said, 3 times a year. Every probably every 2 years. Something's got to change in this county. And I don't know if it's every 3 years or what. Are we stop raising everybody's taxes 17% and it's just about 8.5%? It's ridiculous. Something's got to change to get to that. Something's broke. I'm not saying it's my fault, but something's broke in this county.
I understand it's a state. It's the buyer, the seller.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead and then said, I'm sorry, I skipped over.
You go ahead.
This happened last time too.
I kind of want to address what you said, something broke. Something that's broke is taxation in Austin, Texas. That's what's broke. Our county's not broke, our chief appraiser's not broke, our appraisal district isn't broke. We have people who pay a commission to file a paper hoping they get a resolution on a tax protest and they get a cut of what they say. That's why you're afraid. That's why your protest went exponentially, because it's a no loss for the taxpayer. Yeah, go ahead and sign me up. They send the form in. They hope they get a resolution, and they get 30% of the money they say. So that's why we're not broke. Austin is broke, and the taxation is broke. That would be against the law, because every citizen has the right to protest, they have the right to appeal, they have the right to sue. And I know for a fact their rights are being respected in this appraisal district, because nothing's changed since I left.
All right. Where do you live now, sir? Just out of curiosity.
I live with it.
I'm just curious. You said you left. I'm just curious. I don't care.
But also, there,
No, there's no law. Check, keep appraisal. That's what I was just curious to say. Okay.
when you did that.
I'm not the litigation. Mr. Santos?
I live at 230 Wine Red Way, Mr. Trained my neighbor constituent, and voted for him a couple times. Anyhow, I know Mike. What's your name, sir? I'm sorry. I know Mike. Mike's one of the most gracious men I know, and integrity. He's full of integrity and graciousness. I've never seen him be less gracious than an occasion needed. I have often seen him be more gracious than folks have deserved. And I've known him for 17 years. So, if people are complaining, doesn't mean that this fellow's doing a bad job. I think that you're smug and rude, but that doesn't mean anything. It doesn't necessarily mean you're a bad person or you're doing a bad job, right? So we can all be as opinionated as we want, but at the end of the day, my opinion is that fellow is gracious, considerate, kind, and full of integrity. We could use a whole lot more of that working in our government here in Rockport. And so if y'all decide to do this thing closed or what have you, know that I'm the only one that thinks that about this fellow. Most of the people that I know in Rockport have lived here for 46 years. My dad moved here in 1976 to work at Charlotte Plumbers. So yeah, we've been here for a long time. Most of the folks I know from here, they feel the same way about this man.
Anybody else? So,
There's a hand back here.
oh, I'm sorry.
I just want to say that I'm sure, there's a lot of people that like different individuals here, and it's about our appraisals. It's about keeping money in our pocket. And I remember when I first purchased my house, I had to go and have an a session, and I'm, protesting my taxes. And for some reason, my wetlands, the amount changed. And Mike told me it was because the market dictated it. So I understand what you're saying, but some of us have been bit and we're confused, and we fight year after year. And when I've heard people say after the one, Mike replying with, I'll get you next year. Like, those are the things that the other side is also kind of frustrated with. So I just want everyone to see both sides of this situation.
Please state your name for the record, ma'am.
Christy Thompson Head.
Okay. If I have a question before I raise this item, Mr. Wright said that this action would put the board in legal jeopardy. So I want to make a motion that we table this item until we can speak to the lawyer. Okay. So we vote. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Nay. One vote, table the motion. All right, moving on. Presentation by district council on pending or contemplated litigation or a settlement offer. Hold on 1 second. 1 second, please. Okay. So, announce item of the agenda. Ask the board for, may I have a motion on whether to go to closed session for consultants, for consultation with counsel for the district under government code section 551.071.
So wait, we wanting to go into executive session on number 17?
Yes, ma'am.
Presentation of district council. Okay. So make a motion to go into executive session. Can we sit and do two appraisals report and all of that? So that.
Okay, that's fine. Let's move it on. Move it up on board. Okay, so let's move 17 down to down. 17 flips down to after 19. Okay, appraisal report.
Certainly, the items on the chief appraiser's report on supplemental vote presentation. This is the supplemental detail given to you. There's also I believe a summary that's there as well. Like you'll see supplemental individual details of the supplement. This is the same role where we talked about this before, where the role is certified. And then there's a seal placed on the roll in a year in question. You have to break the seal. When you break the seal, you have to follow either under this code or this code. You can put in a with like a joint motion. These are typical, again, this is the report that we get to you all the time. You don't have any comment on it, you just, you can ask a question if you want to, I can try to answer it, but this is mandated that I give you the quarterly report.
With all these papers, I don't know what
There is one that's called summary, and that's probably called the summary of certified gold chases and assessed value. And you can see what those are. The vast majority are values or assessed values going down as a result of either a chief appraiser motion, a joint motion, a correction, homestead cap lock due to late filing. You know, people have a 2-year period up until the day that the taxes become delinquent to file a homestead. Some people are just trying to they get prepared for time. You see much of this thing is red or parentheses. They're getting benefit. Anna has to deal with the outflow.
Well, these are our favorite things.
Anna gets the outflow of all of this, but I will say that Anna in the tax office and our office are very good rapport. We communicate well and we get stuff done as timely as we can. Any questions? I can move on.
Move on.
Okay, moving on to the second item, which is the 2024 district financial information. I think you have a financial snapshot. It's called a financial snapshot. It's just a single page, and it's January to May. The page is laid out kind of sideways. It should have the board on it. When you get there, let me know. It looks like this. Okay. All right, just going down the list, we've done this before. I'm required to give you like the financial statement of the district. And the result of all of this, we look at a calendar, we say that May is 5/12, that corresponds to the figure of 41%. Usually what I do is I look at that figure and they go all the way down to the bottom. You'll see that it's 41%. We're right on target for this year expenses versus what we're budgeted. Some of those items are front loaded, meaning we only get those one time a year. Some of them are back loaded because we don't get them until the end of the year. Some of them are right in the center because of process. So as a whole, we're doing really well. I'll answer any questions that you might have.
Legal, we're at 74,000.
Right, that's a great question. I'd like to address that. Part of legal has to do with expert witnesses. When you get into expert witnesses, you're going to get into this with Jim for some questions that you might have of him. Part of the legal expense has to do with the expert witness portion and the appraisal services therein. Now, what I mean by that? Some of these appraisals are complex. They're big. They're expensive. They need good expertise. Now, we, as an appraisal district, have expertise in the field of appraisal, but we get an outside appraiser that all they do is look at commercial appraisal or something. And so, a good portion, I think we did a calculation of something like, of this 74,000, there was something like 19 or 24,000 that was tied to expert witness and appraisal. The good news about that is that we don't expect as much on the first third as we do the back 2/3. I know it's January, May, not May, but
say that sentence again. You don't expect.
I don't expect expert witness fees to be as much as they were incurred the first third of the year. Because those court cases, we have a few court cases already set. The expert witnesses have already done their work. They've already been paid. Yeah,
And those
well,
dates have been set.
there's a date of, there's a date, there's a date by which, you know, there can still be settlement for some of the cases. But when you exchange information, there's a deadline date where you have to declare expert witness, and those people have to be services. The good news is that, I want to say the summary of legal fees, I've been the chief appraiser for 6 years, going on 7 years. I think the number that I looked at the other day is about 88 lawsuits. Of the 88 lawsuits, we settled 76 lawsuits. And I believe you can verify these numbers are really close to the numbers that I just indicated.
Those are the numbers I wrote down.
Okay. So, and of course, Anna wants to know about these lawsuits and settlements because she knows I'm not holding any money back.
Yeah. Well, I read that.
Right. So, yeah. So there's 12 active lawsuits. Of the 12 active lawsuits, I think I've got 5 on the books for court. Of those, I know of 1, 2, 3 that are probably going to be settled in the near future. I say the near future, probably between now and the fall. I'll say that if you look at this as just a percentage, like what is 88 on 30,000? It's pretty small. What is 12 on 30,000 parcels? And that's not just in 1 year. That's period. So we do the best we can. If you just look at the total, you say 88 lawsuits, 76 of them handled, through settlement, not go. To date, since I've been a chief, I haven't seen them go all the way through. So, any other questions on the budget?
We're talking about the lawsuits.
Yes.
On the legal fees, is there any way that we can see the attorneys whenever they provide you with those reports and stuff?
You mean see the billing reports before they come in? Yeah, you can absolutely. Yeah, you can absolutely. In fact, when you go to closed session, just tell Jim you want that, and you can get a summary like year over year, and he'll give you those documents. There's no problem with me. I mean, because you're the overseer of our budget, so there you go. Mr. Lambert's an attorney, so attorneys fees are like he can analyze that stuff. Any other questions about the budget?
Excuse me, Mr. Lambert. These when they have a pause number, is the first number the year?
If you read just the pause number, it will have the year in it.
Okay.
It will have say something like 21 or 23 or something like that. Let me see.
They always do.
So yes, it's led with the year. Any other questions about the budget? Board of Directors' duties and responsibilities. Guys, I just want to take an opportunity to say y'all have a very difficult job, and you don't get thanked enough for the job that you do. But in the grand scheme of things, you have very, like if I were to summarize it, you have very few duties, but they're very important. And you have been entrusted with a direct responsibility for your entities. And I'm glad for your service. That's all I really want to say. Just, look at that list of summaries and duties and really focus on these. That's the only thing I have for summaries of board of directors' duties and responsibilities. So thank you for your service. And I know that you're going to go into closed session for item number 17, Chairman. I was wondering if I could give, there's no reason for me to, or is there a reason for me to stick around for item number 17?
No.
And so I would ask that if we could move in, if I could give you a suggestion for item number 19. The only thing that I'd like to say on this is just like, this last meeting was a little hurried. And I don't mind if a board member, any board member wants to run with the agenda, but if you do, let's, I know in the past, the appraisal district has given a little more advance. And so this one was a little condensed. And I will say from a district standpoint, there's a lot of documents together, and we're right in the middle of protest. Just a little consideration on that front, that's all I want on a future agenda item, so if you want the district to run with it, just tell us, and we'll do it like we have in the past. If you want a board member to run with it, just a little more advanced notice would be helpful. With that, I want to thank you, and is there anything you have for the district?
No, on that, I was under the impression that we were looking at today as to fit your schedule, and that's the only reason I did it for today. But on that last note, future board items will be having a set schedule. I think we need a set schedule for people to know like when we're gonna have it, so it's just not this kind of ad hoc thing. And like it just gets a little crazy for all of us, and that way we can kind of plan out our schedules ahead of time, but that's just your.
And that's to his, like, he's gotta have, your next meeting needs to be by.
Quarter.
No, I know, but you have a deadline, you have a deadline at, something.
Yeah, the next board meeting that in my opinion, that you should schedule is the board meeting that's commensurate with the approval or the modification of the budget that's been presented to you today. And that has to be done, I want to say by September.
I think it's
September 1st. Yeah. And so you want, and then there's a 10-day window of notification for public hearing.
Yes.
So historically, we would have that the first 10 days in August, or at the latest, like August 15th, because if there's a hiccup, then you're into another 10-day, 12-day window of weekends. And so
what's that day?
Just by mid-August.
Yeah. All right. All right, moving on to agenda item 16. This 17, because we're moving on, sorry. Discuss future agenda items. Is there anything that you would like to have on the future agenda?
I think we need to discuss workshops. We need to come up with the things that we talked about, which was workshops for the appraisal plan. We need to have a meeting for that. We need to have a meeting for going over policies and things that we would like to see. Obviously, we've made I mean, it's no different than what we've talked about for the last 3 years.
So we're in early June, late July, we have certification. But then early August, we're talking about budget. I think it's important that you get started. So we might even have another board meeting between now and July 25th.
Well, we need to have,
Because
budget and
subcommittees. You gotta get started on the subcommittee stuff.
Right, that's what I'm saying. We need to have a workshop, a budget workshop, so that we can ask questions, and then also the appraisal plan workshop.
Understood.
So that everything's done by September 1 and September 7.
Yeah, just let me know, and little advance notice, and we'll all. Thank you, board.
This meeting is adjourned.
Could you text or reach out to Mr. Evans?
Yes.
Have him call me.
Certainly.
So if let me. Yes, sir.
Jim, can I just say, the average person, you know, I'm not average.
No, sir.
The average person don't come to these meetings or know when they are or anything. We really need to get like an area paper or something like that. And if there was any way possible to get an auditorium or something, where we can break this down, you know, like Mr. Soto might be doing a very good job, although he said my house was built in 19 something, and I looked at it in 1980 when he said it built in 2000, and I looked at it in 1980 to buy. But a lot of these things could be discussed at meetings. And I don't think threats are any good either against the board or anybody else. We're civilized in Aransas County, I have to, since the uncle was left. There were tax sales here.
So, presentation by district council on pending and contemplated litigation for a settlement offer
Oh.
Are you again?
Just this. The only.
Let me just turn this off.
Right, so.